one of the worst WrestleManias of all time. Since WrestleMania 1, one of the worst WrestleManias that I have ever seen. Now let me make a distinction here before I go on. Just because I call it the worst WrestleMania of all time does not necessarily mean that I'm calling it a bad pay-per-view. Because as a wrestling pay-per-view, All Grown Up was actually pretty decent. But as a WrestleMania, it was completely horrible and does not even come close to measuring up to the great WrestleManias of the past. It is unworthy of the WrestleMania name. People come up to me and say, well, it's better than Destination X. Of course it's better than Destination X. It's supposed to be 10 times better than Destination X. This is WrestleMania. And for WrestleMania, it just plain sucked. Okay, you have no idea how much I wanted this WrestleMania to be good. Okay, I paid $50. I invited friends over. I really wanted to come on tonight and be all excited about how great WrestleMania was. I wanted to come on here and be like, oh man, did you guys see WrestleMania 8? It was incredible. It opened up with Shawn Michaels versus Tito Santana. What an awesome match. Then they went to Undertaker versus Jake Roberts. What an awesome storyline that was. And whoa, did you see Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper? That was probably the IC title match of the year in the pinnacle of Roddy Piper's career. What an awesome classic. Then you had Randy Savage versus Ric Flair. What an awesome match that was. What a story. And then on top of that, you had the return of the Ultimate Warrior and LOD. That pay-per-view was fucking awesome. Man, even though it wasn't perfect, man, WrestleMania 8 was fucking incredible. Bound to be a classic. Do you know how much I want to say that about WrestleMania All Grown Up? But I can't, because it was absolutely horrible. The undercard was complete garbage. Okay? Kane vs. Khali has no place in a WrestleMania. Even as a squash match. Even among the squash matches, it was complete garbage. Compare Khali Kane with WrestleMania 6, when the Hart Foundation squashed the Bolsheviks. Now that was a squash match. The bell rang, the Hart Foundation heart attacked one of the Bolsheviks. Bret Hart jumped on top. 1, 2, 3, boom! What an awesome classic. And what about WrestleMania 7 when LOD dominated Power and Glory? Now that's what we call squash matches. Not two big oafs lumbering in the ring, making a joke out of WrestleMania. Khali Kane has no place in a SummerSlam, much less a WrestleMania. And what about Umaga Lashley? What a joke that was. Did you hear how quiet the crowd was? The only time the crowd reacted at all was when Austin did something, and those 2 times when Umaga landed on his ass. And that's it. When Lashley was like shoulder blocking Umaga, the crowd was like completely sitting down on their hands, not making a peep. And with good reason too, because the match sucked. And the women's match, what a joke that was. And the fact that it was short is no excuse, because we all know that if Trish Stratus or Alundra Blaze Medusa from WrestleMania 10 were there, the match would have been 10 times better than what Ashley put on. And the ECW match was a complete garbage, and Benoit MVP, that's a SmackDown match. That is not worthy of being a WrestleMania title match. But I'll get to that later. The undercard absolutely sucked. But more important than the mediocrity that was there, what I saw was what was missing from this year's WrestleMania. That's what made it suck so bad. This WrestleMania felt so empty because it was missing so many of the things that made previous WrestleMania so good and so special. Let me go through 5 of them real quick, even though there are a lot more. The first thing that it was missing was a dream match. Most of the best WrestleManias have some sort of big-time match. Hogan Andre at WrestleMania 3, Hogan Warrior at WrestleMania 6, Hogan Rock at WrestleMania 18, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, Austin versus HBK at WrestleMania 14. Some kind of big-time match where 2 of the biggest stars collide for the first time ever, and the crowd has no idea what's going to happen, like WrestleMania 6. This WrestleMania did not have that at all, and it was noticeably missing. Another thing it was missing was a stand-out undercard match. A match in the mid-card that almost steals the whole show. All the best WrestleManias have this. For example, Austin versus Bret Hart, the one where Bret Hart put Austin in the sharpshooter. Classic. What about Warrior versus Savage at WrestleMania 7? That basically stole the whole pay-per-view. Also, HBK versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. Show stealer. Benoit versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 17. A classic, outstanding undercard match that almost takes the pay-per-view all on its own. This WrestleMania did not have it. What does it have? Umaga Lashley? Yeah, right. Fuck no. Another thing it did not have, and this makes it hurt even more, considering it's the anniversary of WrestleMania 3, was a killer Intercontinental Championship match. A killer match, like Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage, which basically almost stole the whole show. Or what about Warrior versus Rick Rude at WrestleMania 5? Or what about my favorite, WrestleMania 8, when Roddy Piper fought Bret Hart? What a classic that was. Do you remember how into the match the crowd was when Roddy Piper was holding up the bell? And the crowd was going absolutely crazy. Two of the biggest stars. Compare that to Benoit MVP. It does not even come close. Okay? Stars like Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, and Austin and Rock, when they were in the mid-card, are in a completely different league than MVP was. A completely different stratosphere, okay? MVP is too new and too green to be starring in a WrestleMania title match at this point. He is completely outshined by the Intercontinental Championship matches of the past. Not even close, okay? That's why I say that Benoit, MVP, a SmackDown match. Or a match that you can put in like the Great American Bash or something. Not WrestleMania. At least not yet. Another thing it was missing was a killer tag team match. How can you have WrestleMania in front of 80,000 people on the anniversary of WrestleMania 3 without a killer tag team title match? They didn't even have a tag team match at all. Okay? Do you remember the great tag team title matches of the past? My favorite are WrestleMania 6 and WrestleMania 7. Do you remember when Demolition beat Andre the Giant? Do you remember the crowd going nuts? And Andre becoming a good guy at the end? A WrestleMania moment. And what about the Nasty Boys versus the Hart Foundation at WrestleMania 7? What a classic match. Remember when the Nasty Boys won and the crowd was in complete shock? They beat one of the best tag teams of all time. That match was action-packed, exciting from beginning to end. I'll remember that match forever. It was awesome. And WrestleMania All Grown Up did not offer anything like that classic. And no, the ECW match does not count. And finally, it lacks surprises. Not even a small surprise like Trish Stratus turning heel with Christian. Much less a big surprise like Austin turning heel at WrestleMania 17 or the Warrior power running down the aisle at WrestleMania 8. The ultimate classic moment. This WrestleMania was predictable from beginning to end. You had the AT&T Wireless people predicted both main event results. That's how predictable it was. Okay? So, it was just complete garbage. Like, Cena versus HBK was basically Cena versus Triple H from last year. Just take out HBK, put in Triple H. It was complete garbage. It was the typical Cena comeback match. And unworthy of WrestleMania. Totally predictable, no surprises, all garbage. So, despite the mediocre undercard, it was what this WrestleMania did not have. All the things that were missing that made this WrestleMania suck so hard. No redeeming qualities, except maybe the Money in the Bank ladder match and Undertaker. That's it. And for all of you guys who are saying, oh, this was one awesome WrestleMania. One awesome WrestleMania? This probably won't even be the best pay-per-view of the year. Does anybody here think that this will be the best pay-per-view of 2007? Yeah, right. We got 9 months, 20 pay-per-views to go. Within the next few months, WrestleMania All Grown Up will be beaten. You know, it doesn't take much to beat it. At Backlash, all they need is a IC title match, tag team title match, maybe a ladder match, put 2 titles on the line, and it's already on its way to beating WrestleMania. What a shitty-ass pay-per-view. Stop defending this pay-per-view. The WWE will not improve if you keep defending crap. Because to me, what that sentence represented is yet another futile attempt to cover up John Cena's mediocrity. This time through use of words. This time through twisting language. Okay? I mean, prove that he sucks? What the fuck? Since when does it work that way? Since when is someone great until you prove he sucks, okay? Life doesn't work that way. This article is living in another dimension. Let's get something straight, okay? Life is not you're great until people prove you suck, okay? Real life is, you suck until you prove yourself great. Okay, all the greats, HBK, Bret, Austin, Jericho, they all started at the bottom. They all started as the suck level, okay, until they worked their way up, until they proved themselves great, okay. That's how life works, okay. So you see how this article tries to twist reality? It tries to position Cena as something great that we have to work to prove that he sucks. Okay? Fuck that. It doesn't work that way, okay? The correct statement that's based on reality should be to make a coherent argument on how Cena is good, how he's great, how he's worthy, how he measures up to the bar set by HBK and Austin, how he can look them in the eye and honestly think that he's close, okay? And there is no argument to justify Cena as great. None. Okay? The three main arguments I've heard in favor of Cena are some of the most ridiculous arguments I've ever heard in defending a wrestler. Okay? And every single one of them seems to be from WWE.com. Okay? Let's go over them. Okay? The first one. He sells stuff. Okay? Where are you getting this shit from? Okay? I'll tell you where. WWEshop.com. You sheep. You gullible fools. You have no hard evidence that sales trends are still in favor of Cena. You're just bullshitting. Okay? And even if, hypothetically, sales trends are still in favor of Cena, why does he need to be this invincible? Why does he need to be essentially champion for 2 years straight? Okay? Why can't he let someone else be the champ and sell his merchandise from the mid-card? Plenty of wrestlers have sold their stuff from the mid-card and sold lots. Okay? DX sold from the mid-card, right? Razor Ramon sold from the mid-card. The Ultimate Warrior sold from the mid-card. The Undertaker sold from the mid-card. The Hart Foundation sold from the mid-card. They all sold plenty. They all sold millions from the mid-card. Why can't Cena sell from the mid-card? I'll tell you why. Because he sucks. Because his gimmick absolutely depends on him being an invincible world champion. And without those two things, without that spinny belt, without his invincibility, he's nothing. He's exposed for the garbage that he is. Okay? That's why this argument is actually an argument in favor of why he sucks. Okay? The second argument is even more ridiculous. He works hard. What the fuck is this shit, okay? He works hard? What does that mean? Benoit doesn't work hard? Edge doesn't work hard? Shelton doesn't work hard? Where is this coming from? I'll tell you where it seems to be coming from. WWE.com, where they have all these articles about Cena's amazing work ethic and how he's so great to work with. You sheep. You gullible fools. You PR-believing idiots. Okay? Working hard is not a plus in the WWE. It's an expectation. When you sign up for the WWE, you're expected to work like 200 days out of the year. And when you're champion, you're expected to have a tougher schedule. It's an expectation. Stop using it as a plus for Cena. What a ridiculous argument. If you use this argument, you're just reaching. You're just grasping for straws. Okay? Now the third argument, believe it or not, is even more ridiculous. Okay? He's getting better. What the fuck is that shit? He's getting better, okay? So what if he's getting better? Carlito hasn't gotten better? Johnny Nitro hasn't gotten better? Shelton Benjamin hasn't gotten better since he's... Everyone gets better. When you work a job, especially when you work a job 200 days out of the year, your employer expects you to get better, okay? Again, you're using something that's supposed to be an expectation and twisting it into a benefit in favor of John Cena, okay? Stop doing that, okay? Everyone gets better. And how does it feel? Is this what you want? Do you really want a world champion that's invincible for 2 years, that's basically starting out as an average wrestler, but he's getting better, and that's the best thing you can say for him? Is that what you want? Okay? There is no defense for John Cena. He sucks. Stop believing everything the WWE feeds you, okay? And the article, I think, also says that people give Cena overly ridiculous standards as a top guy, okay? How about this standard? Tell me if this standard is overly ridiculous for a top guy. get cheered for at WrestleMania. Okay? After all, every single WWE babyface going into WrestleMania as WWE champ has gotten cheered for. Hogan got cheered for at WrestleMania 1 through 3. Bret Hart got cheered for at WrestleMania 9. Diesel got cheered for at WrestleMania 11. So how's that for a standard? Is that overly ridiculous to expect your top babyface guy to get cheered for? Especially at the biggest event of the year? Is that too much to ask? So stop defending this idiot John Cena. He's completely not in the league and he's completely not worthy. Okay? And stop trying to use language to twist things around in his favor. The correct statement, in my opinion, should be this. Make a coherent argument on why Cena's great, why he's legend-worthy, without referring to WWE.com and WWE PR bullshit. Make an argument like that. And if you try, you'll find out you got nothing. Look at that. Look at that difference. Look at the difference in star power between then and now. Okay, you think the WWF doesn't want that? You think they don't want the star power they had back then? Of course they want it. But the thing is, it's not about them wanting it or not. It's about them not being able to get it. Which brings us to one of the most popular misconceptions and exaggerations among many wrestling fans today, which is the WWE is some kind of superstar generator, that they create the best characters and the other companies steal them. Bullshit, okay? Because if you look at history, history will show you that while the WWE has been very good in promoting its characters and giving them exposure, it is completely incapable, almost completely incapable of creating them. Okay? Some of the biggest stars, the biggest names you can think of in WWF, WWE history, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, The Ultimate Warrior, The Rock, Bret the Hitman Hart, Austin, were actually not products of WWE creative, but rather the products of other promotions or the wrestlers themselves. Okay, let's go down the list. Hulk Hogan, his babyface persona was not created in the WWF, but rather in the AWA. The AWA is where the platform where Hulk Hogan's babyface persona for what eventually would become Hulkamania was built, where the foundation was laid down. And he was drawing as a huge babyface, and only then did Vince McMahon call him, convince him to come over, and give him the national exposure that put him over the top. Okay? The same goes for Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant was drawing large crowds long before he ever set foot in a WWF ring. The Ultimate Warrior, his whole gimmick was created long before he entered the WWF, when he was the Dingo Warrior, and partially when he was in the Blade Runners. It was in those places where his face paint, his armbands, his whole character persona, the profile, was being built. Okay? Now let's look at Stone Cold Steve Austin. When the Stone Cold Steve Austin first came to the WWF, they tried to make him into the ringmaster. They gave him the $1 Million Championship, and he was intended to be the next Ted DiBiase. Okay? It was only after he was able to shed that image, his wife, then wife, came up with the name Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was only after he shed that image that he was able to return to his previous persona. The persona of Stone Cold Steve Austin existed long before he entered the WWF, when he was in WCW and when he went to ECW the year before. Remember his rants against Hulk Hogan and other people in ECW? That was pure Stone Cold Steve Austin persona long before the name Stone Cold or the Ringmaster existed. Okay? The WWE has a long history of giving wrestlers stupid personas that they have to work to shed before they are capable of getting over. Look at Bret the Hitman Hart. Have you seen the Bret Hart DVD? They tried to make Bret Hart into a cowboy. They wanted to make him ride down on a white horse. It was only his effort to avoid this ridiculous gimmick that the Hart Foundation came about. The Hart Foundation was the idea of Bret Hart. Okay? The same goes for Razor Ramon. When Razor Ramon came into the WWF, they tried to make him into like a soldier or something like that. I think some kind of ridiculous gimmick. Okay? It was only an effort to escape that stupidity that he came up with his Tony Montana inspired Razor Ramon. okay, which is a modified version of the Diamond Stud. The platform for Razor Ramon, the character, was built in WCW as the Diamond Stud, where he developed the hair, developed the gestures, and it was him, Scott Hall, and Tito Santana that came up with the name Razor Ramon. Okay, same goes with The Rock. When The Rock came in, they tried to make him into this golden boy, this Boy Scout, this third generation wrestler, Rocky Maivia, and the crowd booed the crap out of him. Okay? And not only did the crowd boo, he was made to smile and wave at the crowd as if they were cheering. Imagine how painful that was. It was only after the WWF was willing to break the chains and let The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, grab the mic and let the crowd know how he felt about their reaction, that his charisma came out, his potential came out, and he went over the top. Okay? The biggest characters in the WWF in its history are products of the wrestlers themselves and other promotions where the platforms were built. The only arguments you can make in favor of the WWF, characters that they built as a company from scratch, are probably The Undertaker, Triple H, and maybe Brock. But that's it. Okay? Other than that, your favorite WWE stars were made somewhere else or not by the WWE creative. Okay? So let's cut that bullshit about the WWE creates the characters and all the companies steal them, okay? Because it is only when the WWE leverages the ideas of other promotions or lets the wrestlers be themselves that big name stars, big name characters are developed. When the WWE creates stars themselves from scratch, you get characters like John Cena, Umaga, Nails, Henry Godwin, Aldo Montoya, the Red Rooster, and the Truth Commission. Okay? When the WWE lets the wrestlers do their own thing, you have potential for great things. But when they try to shove their own created visions down our throat, history has shown that that's another story. Now, on to business. This video will be less about the promotions themselves and will focus more on us, the wrestling fan, okay? I said last video that we should try to replace our anger with compassion and that they could not coexist at the same time. But the thing is, in order to have compassion for someone or a group of people, you need to be able to feel sympathy for them. You need to understand where they're coming from. You need to understand their point of view. Basically, you need to understand the meaning behind their message, behind their words, okay? It's said that when someone says something, 20% is the literal message itself, 80% is the meaning behind the message. Case in point, Truslayer, Bill, Doug, I, others, we've all said at one point or another that Raw's been horrible. But the meaning behind our messages are very different, aren't they? When Bill and Doug says Raw is horrible, it's more of a purpose-oriented approach. They're trying to get the word out on TNA and try to make people aware of how they feel it is a better product than what Raw has been delivering. When Truslayer says Raw has been horrible, it's more of an analytical approach. He's trying to explain away why Raw has been horrible and try to sometimes play Mr. Apologist to it, which I'll get into later. When I say Raw has been horrible, it's less analytical than Truslayer, more emotion-based. From the point of view of a longtime WWF fan who is fed up by how bad the product has gotten. Okay, same messages by each person, very different underlying meanings. The point is to understand where each of us are coming from, all these YouTube shooters, where we're coming from, where the ROH fans are coming from, where the TNA fans are coming from, where the WWE supporters are coming from. And I'd like to argue that us, the TNA supporters, are probably the most transparent and easy to understand group on here, okay? Me, Bill, Doug, Wrestle Group, we're so easy. You can understand where we're coming from because basically we're just a bunch of old WWF fans, right? We're just a bunch of fans that grew up with the WWF, grew up with the Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Randy Savage, Austin, Rock. And then when the product got horrible, we got frustrated, And a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people share that point of view, or at least understand that point of view, okay? We lived and breathed the WWF until it got bad. We are WWF first, TNA later on. And that's what a lot of these Cena lovers need to understand that try to tell us to shut up about the WWE, okay? These new fans, these 2004 fans, these Cena lovers, okay, coming in here and trying to tell us lifelong WWF fans to shut up about the WWE, who do you think you are, People always criticize Bill and Doug for mentioning WWE so much. They criticize them for talking about WWE for 5 minutes out of their 10-minute video, okay? That's who they are. That's where they come from. Their foundations as a wrestling fan were most likely built on the WWF platform. So of course they're going to talk about it. Of course they're going to talk about it even when talking about TNA. That's what they know. That's who they are. That's who we are. Okay? And people can identify with this. That's why people subscribe to Bill and Doug. That's why they have 4,000 subscribers. And that's why the TNA fans are so understandable here on YouTube. Okay? The WWE fans, on the other hand, are some of the most confusing groups of people I have ever seen, okay? Nobody knows what they're about, nobody knows where they're coming from, and nobody understands why they blindly defend this product that they acknowledge is getting worse, okay? The ironic thing is, when I talk to WWE fans, at least the ones that can make complete sentences, they seem to agree with me on most things, okay? They agree with me that Khali sucks and shouldn't be champion. They agree that Cena's stale. They agree that the storylines have gotten more boring. And they agree that overall the WWE has gone downhill within the last few years. They agree with me on all of this. But when it's time for us to rally, when it's time for us to send the WWE a message, they turn around and fight us. Okay, that makes no sense. Why would you defend a product you acknowledge is getting worse? Okay, that makes no logical sense. And when you don't have logic, we can't sympathize with you and we can't feel compassion with you. We have no idea what you're doing. Alright? Why do you do this? It's like they feel some kind of obligation or something. It's like they think they're Vince McMahon's long-lost brother or something. Unexplained loyalty that we cannot comprehend. Okay, and all these WWE fans, they flock to Trueslayer, who I like to call Mr. Apologist. Let me ask you this. Why do you think so many WWE fans they're in love with Trueslayer? He's like their hero, okay? Because Trueslayer is Mr. Apologist, Mr. Damage Control, okay? Everyone pretty much understands here that there is no good way to defend the WWE outright at this point in time. If someone came out here right now and started talking about how Khali's such a great champion, how Cena's awesome, how Hornswoggle's one of the greatest lightweight champions, how Raw's greater than it's ever been, he'd get owned. People would completely destroy his ass, okay? Because the WWE is pretty much objectively bad at this point. The best you can do is damage control. The best you can do is try to cushion the blow when the WWE gets worse. And that's what Trueslayer does, okay? No matter how bad things get, he tries to whittle things down. He tries to explain things away, Cena's, I understand he's not a megastar, but, he draws, and the WWE, I admit it's not perfect now, but at least it's better than 93 to 96. I mean, come on, it's not that bad. Like, stuff like that, no matter how bad, even if WWE does something even worse than make Khali champion, let's say the WWE makes John Cena drop the belt to Michael Cole, okay? Michael Cole is your WWE champion. My guess is that Trueslayer would be on here just talking, Yeah, I know it's a bad situation, and it's undeniably bad, but you have to understand that the situation that the WWE is in right now, they're injury depleted, Cena is going on a break to film his movie, and I'm not saying that Michael Cole should be champion. I mean, that's a horrible decision, but you have to understand that this is the beginning of a storyline they're trying to do, and I'm not saying it's a good storyline, but you have to understand that they're trying to set something up. And you have to admit that the rest of the pay-per-view card wasn't that bad, you know? Like, 2 out of the 5 matches were actually 3 to 3.5 star. You know, just explaining things away and basically apologizing for the WWE to try to cushion the blow of the uproar that's going to ensue. Alright? That's basically what he does, because there's no way to defend the WWE at this point. The best you can do is to control the damage, try to manage the frustration and anger of the fans, and try to make it seem like it's not so bad, even though it is. Okay? That's what Truth Slayer does, and that's why all these WWE fans, in my opinion, are like in love with him. Alright? But back to the main issue. The main issue of why. Why would you even do this in the first place? Why blindly defend the WWE, you know? Why apologize for it? Why try to explain things away? Why try to cushion the blow, you know? It's horrible. Just say it's horrible. Okay? It's hard for us to understand you. It's hard for us to feel compassion for you when you're doing stuff that makes absolutely no sense. Okay? You agree with us. You agree with us that Kali's bad. You agree with us that Cena's stale. You agree with us that the storylines are getting boring. Yet when the time comes, you turn around and turn your backs on WWE and fight us. On to the content of this video. For this video, I just wanted to give you guys some insight as to my background as a wrestling fan, and more information as to where I come from, my point of view when I deliver my commentary, okay? As a brief history, as I said on my MySpace page, I first became a wrestling fan around WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5. I watched those on tape, and by WrestleMania 6, I was a full-fledged wrestling fan. I was one of those people going nuts for Hogan versus Warrior. The first time I was ever really challenged as a WWF fan was around mid-1995. As I said before, I was just talking back then. Why is wrestling so horrible? You know, why is Mabel in the main event? Why are things total shit? Why can't things get back to the way they used to be? Okay? And in hindsight, the turnaround that came, it was Nitro that came and saved the day. When Monday Nitro debuted in September of 95, that was the turning point. Because as I say over and over again, competition is what turns things around, and competition is what makes things better, and this is yet another example of that. And in 1997 and 2002, you couldn't find a bigger wrestling fan than me. I was the biggest wrestling fan you could ever imagine. Recorded every Raw, every SmackDown, archived them in chronological order. You know, at one point I was a roommate with somebody, and the TV was in the bedroom. My friend was in the bedroom with his girlfriend, and they were, getting it on, No difference. 9 o'clock, I came in the room, hey, yo, time for Raw, get out. That's how big of a wrestling fan I was. You couldn't miss an episode of Raw or Nitro, because wrestling was must-see TV. Because everything just came together. That's what you Cena lovers need to understand. Everything came together back then, and it simply worked. And when things work, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So when you try to break things down into individual pieces, you're giving incomplete information and cheating the product as a whole. Okay? So basically, I don't understand the people who try to watch wrestling and break it down into analysis, okay? Because when you watch wrestling, you're not watching it in pieces, you're watching it as a whole. And when we watched wrestling, when wrestling was must-see TV, when wrestling was the most exciting thing you could find, all of us, we didn't watch it in analysis. When we watched wrestling back then, it was something more like this. Oh, there we go. No, you stupid motherfucker! No, yeah! And that's how it was, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. You and like 5 or 10 of your friends just absolutely going nuts. You're not thinking about how many reversals there were or anything like that. You are just taking in the greatness that is happening in front of you, right? When things just work, right? When the gimmicks with proper character development and compelling storyline properly work together in synergy and converge into an incredible climax at a pay-per-view, you are just consumed and overwhelmed by the experience. it is just like amazing. And I haven't felt that, and I'm sure many of you haven't felt that from wrestling in such a long, long time. And that's why I don't understand these wrestling analysts that love to break down matches, and give them stars in isolation. How can you do that with all the intangibles and tangibles that work together to make a wrestling product? How can you just focus on the match to determine product quality? How can you do that? I don't understand these wrestling analysts. They don't see things the same way we do, When they watch a wrestling pay-per-view, I don't think they watch it the same way we do. When they watch it, my guess is it's more something like this. Spot number 6. Whew. Very exciting match. Very exciting. That's no way to watch a wrestling show. I mean, technically, they paid the $40. They can watch it however they want. But my point is that when they do that, they're no longer seeing things the same way we are anymore. They're no longer sharing our perception of things because now they have an ulterior motive. When they're watching, they're thinking about the articles they're going to write, the videos they're going to make, the shoots they're going to do, and that distorts their perspective. All right? Basically, they're no longer thinking as a wrestling fan, they're thinking as an analyst. And in my opinion, this is bad for 2 reasons. One, because in my opinion, I feel they're cheating themselves out of the enjoyment of the show. And 2, by doing this, by watching with a secondary motive, they are distorting their perception to no longer be in line with the common wrestling fan. Basically, they're seeing things from a different point of view, all right? They're not seeing things as fans, they're seeing things as analysts, all right? And I'm not saying this is necessarily bad. I'm not saying that you should stop listening to them. All I'm saying is that you should be aware. These guys have a lot of knowledge and a lot to offer, but when you listen to them, when you listen to their reviews, treat them the same way you would treat a movie review from a professional movie critic. Understand that their perception is a bit different from ours. All right? And I don't ever plan on being like that, okay? I don't ever plan on cheating myself out of the pure enjoyment of the show. I'm never going to have a notepad while I'm watching. I'm never going to make mental notes while I'm watching a big wrestling pay-per-view because I feel that there's an innocence in the pure enjoyment of the product that needs to be protected. All right? And I truly feel that there's no point in breaking down things into a billion pieces because there are so many pieces to begin with before you even break it down. So the best way to look at things is to look at things as a whole, how they work synergistically, and compare them to other products of different time eras or of different promotions. I think that's the best way to approach things. But back to the timeline, 2002 was when my fandom started faltering, and ironically, when I started faltering as a wrestling fan because I started not liking the product as much, that's exactly the time when I started meeting people from the wrestling industry, I started meeting a lot of indie wrestlers, a lot of wrestlers I know formerly worked for TNA because in 2002 when TNA was first starting, they just had a jumble of wrestlers, just coming in and out for 1-2 time appearances, and a lot of those wrestlers, are from my area. They work out at my local gym, so I started meeting people, started going to indie local shows and stuff like that, and that's where my, contacts come from. That's where my insight into more the internal aspect of the wrestling industry comes from, which I do not like to focus on. I prefer to focus from the fans' point of view because I feel that is more important. So basically, in summary, I hope this lets you know a little bit more about myself. And basically what I'm saying is, based on my education, my contacts, and my lifelong wrestling fandom, I think I'm in good position to deliver these types of videos that I deliver. I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone else. I'm just giving you, hopefully, more insight as to where I come from and the nature of what my contributions here will be. I wanted to talk about Bound for Glory a little bit because this is a pay-per-view I'm very excited about. But first, a little housekeeping, okay? Yes, first of all, once again, it is time for our subscriber of the day. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is time to give appreciation. Okay, sorry, I haven't done this in a while. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, yes, once again, it is time to give acknowledgement and recognition to one of your fellow wrestling fans. And the one randomly selected this time is JJ Sanfeliu. Congratulations, you are our subscriber of the day. Tune in next time to see who will be our next subscriber of the day. Okay, more practice needed on that. But, on to business. SummerSlam. What an atrocious pay-per-view that was. And you know what? I actually watched that with a bunch of ROH fans. I watched that in Philly. Okay? And not only are these ROH fans, they're the original ROH fans. Okay? They gave me these tapes to bring home. And they showed me this one, which is apparently one of the first ROH shows out there. You can verify if you want. They're the front row gang, okay? They're some of the people that were front row at these shows, and they pointed themselves out, okay? I have never seen such hardcore ROH fans. I have never seen such hardcore wrestling fans in my life, okay? You go into their house, you go into the basement, and you see rows and rows of bookshelves filled with videotapes, CDs, and DVDs of basically every wrestling show known to man. I've never seen so many, you know? And during our conversation, you know, I just randomly mentioned an episode of Raw, you know, the one where the Roddy Piper impersonator comes down and kisses Jerry Lawler's feet. The guy just pulls it out, pulls it in, and starts playing it, okay? He has basically every single Raw since 1993, okay? Up until the WWE started going downhill, okay? Every single hardcore wrestling fans that basically know every move, that can basically predict every match. Like during the SummerSlam women's match, when Beth Phoenix came out, everyone just pointed to her saying she's winning. You know, they are hardcore wrestling fans. And you know what? After the show, when the pay-per-view was over and people got up and started talking, they felt the need to come up to me and apologize for how bad that pay-per-view was. Okay, even though they have nothing to do with the product, they feel so connected to the business that after the show they went up to me and they're like, hey man, I'm sorry, I knew the WWE was getting bad, but I didn't know it was this bad. I'm sorry about that, man. They felt sorry for the WWE and its current state of garbageness, okay? And these fans that you cannot tear away from the TV, halfway through the SummerSlam pay-per-view, about half of them walked out the door and started talking about other things, okay? And it was not long thereafter that I joined them, and we started talking about better times. We started talking about 1998. We started talking about the good times. You know how Shawn Michaels versus Austin leading up to WrestleMania, how predictable that was. But then how things picked up so much afterwards. We talked about Dude Love, you know, Austin counting Vince McMahon's unconscious hands down to 3, the birth of the corporate champion, The Rock. Better times came, you know, the better times. Great times for the WWE, but yet, then after we were done, we had to walk back in the room and watch the TV at the horrible, horrible product that is today in the WWE, okay? How bad is completely indefensible product, completely indefensible pay-per-view, completely indefensible year for this WWE, okay? And the WWE fans, they even know it, okay? That's why they keep looking outward. Like, Every time I go online and I read what people have to say, listen to their video blogs, listen to people talking about wrestling, they're always looking outward. They're like, oh, when's Triple H coming back? Things are going to get better then. You know, when's Rey Mysterio coming back? Things are going to kick ass when he comes back. You know, when's Edge coming back? You know, when's The Undertaker coming back? Oh, Y2J, is he coming back? Oh, the Dudley Boys, are they coming back to the company? You know, why do they keep looking outward? Because they know what's inside sucks. That the current product where Cena basically wins every pay-per-view and gets beat up on every Raw is stale and completely unwatchable. That's why they look outward to familiar faces from better days that give them better feelings of the past. That's why they look to the Attitude days. That's why they look to the Hulkamania days and the characters from those eras, because the characters from this era, this current state, this Khali, Cena, Batista era is completely horrible. One of the worst eras since WrestleMania 1. Okay? Completely indefensible. And you know what the sad thing is? The sad thing is the moment Kali won the championship, the moment Hornswoggle won the lightweight championship, the moment Cena beat the odds for the millionth time, the moment former softcore porn star Candice Michelle won the championship, there were people on here on YouTube defending that. That's the saddest thing. And you wonder why, okay? You wonder why, how bad the WWE has gotten, that these hardcore fans, these original fans, the fans that you can't drive away, the WWE has managed to drive away. Yet there are still people on here trying to defend this garbage. Like I said, as if they're acting as if they're Vince McMahon's brother already. Stop defending this product. The more you defend this product, the more you're going to get of the garbage that we've been getting for the last over 2 years now, okay? But this Batista-Cena era has got to end, and supporting it will not help the cause. And I have one more thing to say, okay? You look outward at Y2J, Triple H, and all these other people, okay? Bringing these old faces back in is not going to help anything, okay? It's almost inhumane when you bring them back. You know, this Kali, you know, Candice Michelle, Cena, Batista era, taking an awesome character from the past, Y2J, and throwing him into this garbage, it's almost inhumane. It's almost wrong. It's almost something you shouldn't do or shouldn't be able to do, okay? Things are not going to get better. It's not about bringing in people from the past. It's not about re-signing Kurt Angle or whatever. It's about the product as a whole being rotten, being garbage. No matter who you bring in, they've tried. They brought Hulk Hogan back last year. They brought Austin back this year for WrestleMania. It's not going to help as long as the product is bad. The writing, the culture, the philosophy of the WWE needs to change before anything gets better. There, now I'm really done. Hi everybody, nice to see you again. I know it's been a while. I didn't mean to be away this long, but I've been very busy. Recently I got an opportunity that I just had to take, and I'm taking it, okay? I basically got John Cena, okay? I got a shot that I didn't deserve, okay? And now I'm working my ass off next to coworkers that are like twice as qualified as me. But isn't that the meaning of life? Isn't that what we all want in life? To get John Cena, to get a shot, a push that we don't deserve, you know? I got it. Now I'm just gonna have to work my ass off to make sure I don't get booed out of the arena, so to speak. But on with the video. First, as always, let's start with our subscriber of the day! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is time to give acknowledgement and recognition to one of your fellow wrestling fans. And the one randomly selected this time is... We've seen enough! Congratulations, you are our subscriber of the day! Now, okay everybody, in appreciation of We've Seen Enough for being a wrestling fan, let's all imitate and copy John Cena coming down the aisle like he just got poked in the ass, okay? Ready? One, two, three!
Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now.
Tune in next time to see who will be our next subscriber of the day! Alright, now, as most of you know, TNA Genesis was last week. I watched it, I ordered it, and it was great from top to bottom. TNA delivered once again. Alright, the only thing I missed was the pregame show and the intro. I ordered the pay-per-view at 7:30 when the pregame show was starting, and I had to drive out to do some stuff, and by the time I got back, Abyss was already wrestling on the TV. But from what I saw from then to the end, it was really, really a great, solid pay-per-view. TNA delivered once more. Alright, the only thing I missed was the intro, but you know what? I don't think I missed much. The TNA pay-per-view intros have got to be one of their weakest points ever, okay? Like, they always have the same guy. They always have the TNA Destination X. You know, like, who is that guy? Why is it always him? You know? And the intros are all exactly the same. They follow, like, the same formula. It's getting so old, you know? Like, all they do is they take a word out of the dictionary, they define the word, and then they apply it to the matches that night. You know, for example, they'll say, justice to make right tonight Kurt Angle seeks justice from Christian Cage for blah blah blah, you know? Or stamina, the ability to endure. Tonight, these soldiers walk into the war zone, you know, to endure the gauntlet match, you know? It's just all the same shit, you know? Like, Turning Point hasn't even happened yet. But how much you want to bet the intro is going to be something like this? Penis, the male organ. Tonight, these gladiators enter the ring, ready to stick it to each other for supreme satisfaction. TNA, Turning Point, you know, just stupid shit like that, you know, like TNA, please, do something about your intros, alright? They're getting really old and stale, they're getting Cena stale, please, like, get that guy, maybe you can get him to do it for the big pay-per-views like Slammiversary or Bound for Glory, but not every single one. It gets really, really old. So that's all I got to say about that, alright? Now, on to Survivor Series. Yes, I'm talking about Survivor Series with... Yes, I'm talking about Survivor Series and Genesis in the same pay-per-view. What's changing? Well, hello all, but yeah, I ordered Survivor Series as well, and I'm sure most people would agree that it was alright. You know, like somewhere in the middle. Where in the middle is debatable, but somewhere in the middle. My main problem with Survivor Series was that it didn't feel like a Survivor Series. It felt more like a New Year's Revolution or something. You know? The WWE has watered down the identity of Survivor Series. You know, wasn't it supposed to be the Thanksgiving elimination match tradition? First they take away the Thanksgiving part, and now we should be thankful if we get one elimination match. And on top of that, the teams in the elimination match don't even make sense. You know, what were the teams? You know, like Umaga, who for some reason is with Kennedy, and like Big Daddy V and Finley. Like, what are they doing together? It's like they were thrown together as an afterthought. Even the website called them a hodgepodge of wrestlers. You know, remember when Survivor Series teams made sense? Remember teams like the Hulkamaniacs, where it was Hulk Hogan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Tugboat, and the Big Boss Man? You know, they were all patriotic Americans, and on top of that, they were all good friends within the context of the storyline, so the team made sense. And when the team makes sense, it's memorable. Teams like Roddy's Rowdies and Rude's Brood. You know? They're watering down the identity of Survivor Series, and I don't like it. They need to go back to the roots of what Survivor Series is supposed to be about. You know, and when I was watching this pay-per-view, you know, I tried to actually watch it like the wrestling analysts online. I tried to break it down into matches, like the first ECW match and then the next match. I tried to break it down into matches, what happened in the matches, and then tried to give each match a star rating to determine how many good and bad matches there were to determine the... Frankly, I'm really, really tired. But first of all, yep, the hat's back, and yep, I got ruled at the barber again. Why is it that every time I go in there, something like this happens? The people in there must be secretly WWE supporters on here or something, because every time I go in there, I sit down, I look down to read a magazine, and by the time I look up, I've been destroyed. Okay, and that's exactly what happened this time. I sat down, I looked down to read a car magazine, and by the time I finished the review, I look up, and I wanted to scream, okay? The guy gave me a Dumb and Dumber haircut. He cut a horizontal line in the front, high up on my forehead, and left all this hair on the side. I looked like a freaking idiot, okay? I made him fix it, I didn't pay for it, but why the hell, what was this guy thinking, okay? I need to stop going to that place. I think that's I need to go stop going to that place, okay? But now, on to the video, alright? First of all, Cena, okay? My last video had one major point, okay? The major point was regarding the loss of identity in Survivor Series, okay? And while arguing my point, I made references to Team Umaga as well as all these Survivor Series teams of the past. And I expected to talk about Survivor Series, okay? But what do people pick on? People pick on my intro, okay? Stop obsessing about Cena, you know? Stop talking about Cena so much. He's injured right now, okay? The fact that you have to pick on my intro just tells me that you can't argue my major point. I haven't mentioned Cena in a long time, but the reason I mention him at all is because for the last 2 years, he's been shoved down all our throats, okay? You can just say, I'm regurgitating, okay? And another thing, for all you people who think that Cena's going to be out for the next 12 full months, you're idiots, okay? The 12 months estimate is a very, very liberal estimate. It's obviously promotional strategy. They extend the time of length that they say Cena's going to be out just so he can beat that time, and in the storyline they can talk about how he's going to beat the odds and come back early, just so they can say he's going to come back early, okay? And if you think that he's going to miss this year's WrestleMania, you are a complete moron, okay? People are like, oh, finally we'll have this Royal Rumble or WrestleMania without Cena. Yeah, right. Okay, he's going to be in our face as the guest referee, guest enforcer, whatever. He is going to be in our face. Okay, so don't talk about, oh, he's gone for the next 12 months. Why are you talking about him? Okay, I can see, that's because I can see what's coming. Okay, if you think that the full 12 months was the honest truth and that he's going to be off TV for the next 12 months, you are a complete moron. Okay, but on to the next topic, which is the topic of what Cena has become, which is the golden boy, the Boy Scout of the WWE, okay? Cena isn't the first, okay? It seems like ever since Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon, and his company have been trying to make this golden boy, this like Boy Scout mainstream hero, you know, like this Justin Timberlake in sync of the WWE, okay? And the thing is, it's never worked. It's never, ever worked, okay? They tried it with Shawn Michaels in 1996. Remember the Boyhood Dream? You know, they tried it with Diesel in 1995. They tried it with Lex Luger. They even tried it with the Ultimate Warrior. Remember when he came down on the Brother Love show and he was like making do a handstand for the Warrior. He made that little girl like do cartwheels and shit like that. They water the characters down to make them these Boy Scout pretty boys, and it never works. The crowd starts to boo. Okay? The WWE has been trying this for over a decade, but when you look at it, the biggest things since Hulk Hogan have not been these Boy Scout superheroes. They've been people like The Rock. They've been people like Austin, the NWO, The Undertaker. None of these guys are the nice guy Boy Scouts that the WWE keeps trying to make, okay? None of them are boyhood dreams. This formula that they keep trying simply doesn't work. Okay, the only one you could possibly argue maybe is Bret Hart, okay? Heel Kurt Angle worked because he was a parody of this Boy Scout crap that they're trying to make us take seriously with Cena. Alright? It simply doesn't work in wrestling, okay? It never has and it never will. Stop pussifying our superstars, alright? Whenever they try this, the only people it ever works on are the lowest common denominator in advertising and promotion, the easiest to please, and that is the kids and the little girls, okay? Whenever they try this, that's all they get. Everyone looks at how things get watered down and they start to boo, okay? I say almost everyone because some of you guys get caught up with the little kids and start to accept these low standards when the WWE tries them, okay? And that brings me up to my next point, which is standards, okay? I've said it before, but it's worth saying again. You guys need to raise your standards. Your mentality is all wrong. You're starting at the bottom. You're starting at zero, okay? When WrestleMania, when Survivor Series comes down, you start at zero, and any little thing that the WWE does, you give them bonus points for that, okay? Expectations become bonus points. Oh, this pay-per-view, you hear things like, oh, this pay-per-view has 3 good matches. It's going to be a great pay-per-view. That is completely the wrong mentality. You're starting at zero, as I said before, and you're counting up, okay? Why don't you start at the top? Why don't you start with high standards and then come back down? That's a more realistic, honest analysis, and you end up with better results as a result, okay? It's like, is that how you evaluate girls? Do you start at zero? You look at this hideous, ugliest monster of a girl, but you say, oh, you know, at least she has nice eyes, you know, at least she has nice hairs. Oh, she's a pretty decent girl. And you end up dating this hideous piece of shit, you know? You end up accepting less, okay? Why don't you start at the top? Why don't you accept gorgeous, you know? Then even if you subtract, even if you say, oh, her eyes aren't that nice, or her hair is kind of messed up. Even when you take away, you end up she's still hot. You know, you end up with better results when you raise the bar, okay? You guys need to raise the bar, okay? You guys need to mention the greats. When Survivor Series comes, you need to start up here with the greatest Survivor Series of all time. But not only do you not do that, you try to shut us up and try to stop us from mentioning the greats when we try to review the present day versions, okay? Which brings me to my next topic. What is with all these stupid rules that the New Age fans make up? You know, like, oh, stop talking about the Attitude Era. You know, stop talking about Hulk Hogan era. Stop mentioning WWE when talking about TNA, alright? The reason they do this is because they prefer to be ignorant, okay? They can't defend their arguments, so they have to make up rules to try to handicap their opponents. This reminds me of that stupid rule that they used to have in fighting games, the no throwing rule. Remember that in Street Fighter? You know, you throw somebody, and they're like, no throwing, you know? Now I get to go up and throw you. Fuck no, you're not throwing me, you know? They walk up and I just kick them in the face, you know? If you are truly confident in your product, you will accept all comparisons. I like WrestleMania 17. I think WrestleMania 17 is one of the best WrestleManias of all time. Therefore, I will line it up against any WrestleMania. From WrestleMania 2 to WrestleMania 20 or any pay-per-view from any other company, I'll line WrestleMania 17 up with that. Because I am confident in the product, so I fear no comparisons. Okay? But it'll never be like that with these New Age fans because they know how bad the product is right now. So instead, they have to hide. They have to try to hide the past and try to shut the past down, okay? Which brings me back to the quote in this beginning of the video. In order to enforce the lies of the present, it is necessary. These guys find it necessary to try to erase the truths of the past. They try to erase the past. They try to act like if wrestling started in 2005, okay? And we're not allowed to mention anything else or any other company, okay? And if wrestling started in 05, then I guess SummerSlam 07 isn't that bad, right? I mean, actually, wrestling only started 3 years ago. There's only been 3 SummerSlams. But that's living a lie. That's living outside of reality. The fact that these dumbasses make these stupid rules to place boundaries on us simply indicates their inability to defend their arguments properly. If they believed in their products truthfully and sincerely, they would welcome anything. I will never follow these rules, okay? It's just like the stupid no throwing rule. If you want me to stop throwing you, then stop me from throwing you, okay? It's in the game, and if you can't handle the game, then stop playing. Alright, let's try this again. Once again, for all my fellow intelligent fans, long-term fans, mature, newer fans with open minds, people who understood me the first time around, you don't need to watch the rest of this video. Go play a video game or something. But for the rest of you, you losers, you New Age fans, you Cena lovers, you retards, it's one thing when people disagree with me. It's another when they're not even getting my message to begin with. This will be my last-ditch attempt to reach some of you morons. So listen up and listen close. This is you. No. This is you. No, scratch that. This is you. And this is a video about how stupid your viewpoints seem to us. When most of us think of modern day wrestling, this is what we think of. A rich history filled with high quality, set standards, and unforgettable moments. So when things become lacking, we feel it and we express it immediately. You losers, on the other hand, do something completely different. You blind yourselves from this legacy, instead choosing to see and accept things only as is. You reject any notion of comparison, even though that is how quality is supposed to be determined. For example, how good is present-day Ford? By itself, you really can't say. I mean, I guess compared to walking it's good, but whoop, doesn't look so good anymore, does it? Comparison is the basis of how we see quality, and that has been my message in the beginning of almost all my videos. But you losers reject this, because you know how opening up the past will make the present look. And you go one step farther in your attempt at spreading ignorance. Not only do you ignore how things were, you also ignore how things came to be. Case in point, ratings. When you dumbasses look at the ratings, this is all you look at. Just the numbers and nothing else. You see Raw's 3.5 and proclaim its amazingness. Then you bash TNA's 1. But from this picture, TNA does look like it's about to go down, right? Wrong. Open your eyes and see how things came to be. Raw started way back in 1993 before skyrocketing to an 8.1 in the Attitude Era and averaging 6.0. Since then, however, it has plummeted to the point where a 3.9 is considered amazing. Meanwhile, TNA just got started, initially barely getting 0.2s before scratching and clawing its way up, punching in at a 1.2 and securing the 2-hour deal. One company went up, the other one went down. But do you acknowledge that? No. You blind yourselves to how things came to be in a sad attempt to see things the way you want. Pathetic. In order to brainwash yourselves and others into your altered version of reality, you try to cover up how things were and how things came to be. But that's not even enough anymore. As the downhill slide of the wrestling product becomes ever more obvious, not only do you need to cover up the past, you need to distort and brainwash how people see the present. Case in point, the pay-per-views. This is how a pay-per-view typically looks today. About 6 to 8 matches, one after another, each with their own individual match quality. But any fan who knows wrestling knows that it's more than this. It's much more than this. You have your hype, storylines, character developments, the excitement and drama that lead up to the pay-per-view. During the pay-per-view, not only are there the quality of the matches, but the relationships between them, as well as the proper progression and development of storyline and characters. Though not all matches need be directly related, in a properly told fictional universe, characters will interact and grow, influencing each other's behavior and their matches. After the pay-per-view are the outcomes. This should actually be multiple arrows, going in all directions, interacting with each other and building as they converge onto the next big show. Though most of us don't constantly think about all this stuff when we watch wrestling, when something is missing or watered down, we notice it immediately and demand more. But with you losers, it's been a different story, hasn't it? As the quality of these things went down the toilet, you chose instead to simply blind yourselves from them, looking only at the match quality to determine overall product quality. In other words, as the industry went down, you killed your own standards in order to accommodate a sinking product. Pathetic. First you were brainwashed, now you're trying to brainwash everybody else. But the problem for you is that there's always going to be people like us who are going to be here to deliver the truth instead. If it's not me, it's going to just be somebody else who's going to step up. Because the bottom line is, legacy ignored, trends ignored, standards gone, you fool! A few videos ago, I commented on how Cena's sudden departure would make the rest of the roster look completely weak. So let me get something straight here. Lashley. After last year, a year in which he pretty much dominated rosters, in which he owned ECW as the ECW World Champion, then jumped over to Raw to dominate the roster there, so far as having a whole episode of Raw dedicated to him beating up better wrestlers, he just gets up and walks out the door. So what was the point of last year, huh? To waste your time? To watch stars that will never be? And don't blame Lashley as an individual either. When a sports team loses control of its players, when players start quitting, when they start leaving, when they start misbehaving, who do the fans and the media rightfully blame? Management. The coaches. In 2005, when I was posting on message boards, people used to always say, oh, wrestling's going downhill, but it's fine, okay, this is just a transition period. It's all part of Vince's master plan. Does anybody still think Vince has a master plan? It looks like nobody has any idea what is going on back there. Alright, so that's all I got to say about that, but on to Royal Rumble, okay? Last year I said, the Royal Rumble is one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year, and that stands, okay? Because no matter how bad things get, no matter how bad the storylines, the booking, the star power, the character development is, you always have at least the Battle Royal of the Royal Rumble, which by its nature is guaranteed a certain level of entertainment. However, the same can't be said for the world title match at the pay-per-view, okay? Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. Does anyone really think that Jeff Hardy has a significant chance of winning this pay-per-view? Jeff Hardy is most likely just playing the same role that Umaga played last year, which is to waste time, to kill time for the world champion before WrestleMania, just to give the world champion someone to feud with before his challenger at WrestleMania. They're just doing the same thing over again. Sure, it would be great, okay? It would be great if the company surprised us and gave Jeff Hardy a short title run, or maybe even flip things upside down. Have Jeff win the world title at Royal Rumble, CM Punk win the Battle Royal, and suddenly you have a brand new, fresh main event at WrestleMania. But what are the odds of that happening? Okay, pretty small, aren't they? Not zero, but very, very small. Odds are he's just playing the same role that Umaga played last year. Waste time for the world champion. They're doing the same thing again, and you idiots are just going to fall for it again. And that's all I got to say about that, okay? But the primary purpose of this video, okay, is to kill stupidity that's been floating around this page lately, okay? To you stupid New Age fans that won't shut up, okay? You know when you go to the bathroom and take a pee and forget to shake, okay? And then you zip up and suddenly you feel the moisture flowing through your pants, the pee seeping through the front of your pants? That pee, okay? That pee, that's you. Okay? You're like the flies that won't stop buzzing in the air when someone's trying to sleep. When their head first hits the pillow and they're just getting ready to go to sleep, and all of a sudden they hear is bzzz. Those are your arguments. Those are the level of annoyance of your arguments. Okay? And by then, all it is up to the guy sleeping to determine whether it's just to ignore it and go to sleep, whether he's too tired and just go to sleep, or whether he's been so annoyed that he gets up, gets a broom or a fly swatter, and just smacks those stupid things down, okay? This video is a smackdown on your stupidity, okay? So let's get started with these stupid dumbass flies. Fly number 1. Stop obsessing over John Cena! Alright, dumbasses, let's end this thing once and for all, right? Let's take a look at my last 5 videos and their main points, alright? Do any of these have any type of significant focus on John Cena? The answer is absolutely not. But do you acknowledge this? No. You completely ignore this in favor of talking about something that you pretty much pulled out of the air, alright? What the fuck? Bottom line, you changed the subject because you can't counter my main arguments, okay? And you guys want to know what the ironic thing is? The ironic thing is you won't stop mentioning Cena to me, alright? You keep talking to me about Cena, but it's like I'm not allowed to mention him or something, alright? You defend him like crazy, but I can't reply to it. Is that another one of your Street Fighter rules? Alright, another one of your handicaps? I won't follow it. So my next fight does have to do with John Cena. It's buzzing around the air, it's annoying, so I'm going to smack it down. Fly number 2. WrestleMania proves Cena's huge! Attributing the success of a gigantic pay-per-view solely to the guy you want to defend, okay? Okay, where do I start? Okay, let me see, okay. I have, for my age, okay, relatively advanced education and experience in advertising and promotion. What people will tell you is that a simple way to figure out what a company values as its selling point is to see how it tries to sell, what it focuses on to sell its major products. Now, WrestleMania is definitely the major product of the WWE. It's its Super Bowl, okay? So let's see what's been the focus, what's been the selling point of WrestleManias. When you look at WrestleMania's artwork and ads, it's usually clear what the selling point is. Despite Macho Man's win at WrestleMania 4, both it and 3 were clearly sold on the appeal of Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. The next 2 are just as easy. WrestleMania 5 was all about the Mega Powers, and WrestleMania 6 was all about the Ultimate Challenge. And when you look at WrestleMania 14, it's clear who was the selling point. Even though he didn't wrestle, there he is, Mike Tyson, front and center, in between the 2 main eventers. And do we even need to talk about WrestleMania X8? This pay-per-view was not sold on any title matches. This was sold on Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, the dream match, period, okay? Now let's take a look at last year's WrestleMania. this is basically what the DVD and the website look like. You're saying Cena was the selling point, huh? This guy down here in the corner? You dumbass! Through its promotion, it's clear what the WWE was selling this WrestleMania basically on. It was sold on the Trump name. But do you see that? Even though it's right in front of your face like this, of course not. You blind yourself as usual and see only what you want to see. Pathetic. Okay, I think I pretty much conquered that one, so let's just quickly move on to the next annoying bug flying around in the air. Fly number 3. I am waiting for you. You know, before making this video, I had planned to make some kind of origin story video for myself, just to let you guys know my history as a wrestling fan and how I got here on YouTube. And during that video, I had planned to list the 5 standards I set for myself for this YouTube page, because, you know, I'm kind of old school, you know, I have standards, you know. And one of those standards I had planned to talk about was that I set myself a rule, and that rule is that this channel will never be about me. It will always be about my message. Okay? I still get emails, messages from people thanking me, saying how even though they don't agree with every little detail I say, in general, I'm speaking for them. I'm speaking for their beliefs. Okay? And this channel will always exist to represent those overall consistent beliefs. It will never be about me. Okay? You'll never find my picture in the background to this channel. You'll never find a picture of me in the title screen. Okay? You'll never see me engaging in contests on here. This channel will always be about the message, to make the message available for the people to listen to. Okay? It's not about popularity. It's not about attention on me. Okay? I said it last video, alright? If I one day step down, the message still exists. Okay? And someone will step up to carry on that message, okay? Which is more important than all. It's a combined effort of all of us. Me, Bill, Doug, Resugu, all of us. It's not about the individual. It's about the cause. Okay? This isn't a race for subscribers. My actions on this channel are completely inconsistent with someone who's just here trying to hoard as much subscribers and as much attention, try to be controversial as possible, okay? When Bill and Doug, when WrestleGuru subscribed to me, that was a vote of confidence that I would not sell out like that, okay? When Bill and Doug subscribed to me, if I wanted to hoard subscribers, I would have made so many, I would have pumped out videos like crazy during that time, just to get attention, just to get subscribers. But did I do that? No. It took me a month to do my next video because I did what they probably expect me to do, and that is to keep doing what I'm doing. And that's continuing the message. It's always been about the message, okay? With me here, standing in the face of all this hate mail, all this negative stuff coming at me, okay? All these people threatening, they want to kick my ass. You think I'm here just for popularity, just for subscribers? Are you kidding me? No. I find it funny how I spent last year talking about how the Impact Zone looked too much like the old American Gladiator set, and how now there's a new American Gladiator show, and its set looks so much cooler than the Impact Zone. I thought I just mentioned that, but remember the old American Gladiators? I was just thinking, remember Malibu? Remember how you always lost? Remember how the contestants would just run, pick them up, throw them away, and just keep running? For those of you who haven't seen the original American Gladiators, there's this one gladiator named Malibu, okay? He had the long blonde hair, he was like a surfer dude. He was like, hey, dude. And he always lost. The contestants would just toss him to the side, and it was like this for like the first 2 seasons before they finally got rid of him, okay? For some enjoyment, just type in American Gladiators Malibu, okay? Malibu. But on to the Royal Rumble. I watched the Royal Rumble with the same group I watched SummerSlam with in Philadelphia, and the first thing I noticed was how haphazardly and unwell thought out the set was at the Royal Rumble. I mean, I guess if you like pretty colors, if that's all you're looking for, it's fine, but the entranceway was just a rearranged HD Raw set. But the way they rearranged it didn't allow for the normal barriers down the aisle. So did you notice Instead, they used those rope barriers that you find in line at the bank, you know, and it just ended suddenly, and then you have the normal barrier, and then now they're using those ugly silver ring posts for all their shows. Ugh! And did you notice that above the entranceway, there was a panoramic picture view of the city, which is fine, but above that, they had another taller layer panoramic view picture of the city, but the problem with that is the camera almost never showed it. It showed it for about 10 seconds. So they could have gotten rid of that completely and added like 50 more seats. It was just like a complete mess. Alright? But as for the Royal Rumble itself, the Royal Rumble represents overall all that is wrong with the WWE today, okay? Generic storylines going in, and we know exactly what's going to happen at the end. Basically, watching the Royal Rumble live is like watching a movie where someone already told you the ending, okay? You're basically watching just to see how it gets to that point, alright? Like the first match between Ric Flair and MVP. Did anybody really think that Ric Flair's career will end after all? No. Okay? We were just waiting for him to cinch in the figure 4 and win. Okay? The match itself was pretty much all we would expect between MVP and Ric Flair. So he watched it, he did it, over. Exactly what we expected. The next match was between JBL and Y2. Whenever Y2J fights a bigger guy, I wonder why they never ever bother to mention the time Y2J took down Bill Goldberg backstage at a Nitro, you know? Because JBL's a big guy, you know, he's like 6'5". And Y2J, when he fights, to give him some credibility, they need to, I always feel like it would help to say that, so just to give Y2J, which is a relatively smaller guy, some credibility that he can take down the big guy, you know, just to give some strength to his character. But that's beside the point, you know. Why would you have Y2J come back with all this momentum, all this hype, just to have him fight JBL? You know, and the match was sloppy, just as you would expect it to be sloppy. How good of a match do you expect with Y2J when you throw him in the ring with JBL? Okay, and the next match was Edge versus Rey, which is, again, what you would expect. But the New York City crowd helped to make this match by booing every botch by Rey Mysterio Jr. But again, the ending, exactly what we expected. There was no chance that Edge would be leaving without the belt at the Royal Rumble. And the next match was a very important symbolic match. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton symbolizes almost exactly the fight between what the company wants and what the fans want, okay? Because Jeff Hardy, even though he's not the ideal main eventer, okay, even though he's not the best wrestler, even though some may call him a spot monkey, he might belong in the mid-card, in this particular match, he represented all that was new, all that was fresh, all that was possible with the main event scene in the WWE today. And for that reason alone, the smart New York fans cheered the crap out of him. And on the other side was Orton, and nothing against Orton personally or individually, but in this particular match, he represented all that was old, all that was the same old, all that was stale, all that was the shove down our throat mentality of the WWE today. And for that reason, the New York City crowd frustratingly booed the crap out of him. Okay? But as much as the smart fans wanted Jeff to win, I think most of them knew, like I knew, that there was pretty much no chance he was going to win. Jeff Hardy just represented what Umaga represented last year, which is he was just a time killer for the champion before the champion fought his real opponent at WrestleMania. Okay? And the Royal Rumble, okay? Before the Royal Rumble even started, about 1/3 of the appeal was already lost. Why? Because the second most important thing to the Royal Rumble, besides winning it, was already lost before it started, okay? Before the Royal Rumble started, nobody could beat Rey Mysterio's record for the length of time inside the ring, because before the Royal Rumble even started, there was already less than 62 minutes left in the pay-per-view. No one could beat Rey Mysterio's record before the Rumble even started. And I admit, this was a hard pay-per-view to book. Okay, they had, even though it was a predictable undercard, it had a stacked undercard. Okay, it was a hard pay-per-view to book. But the problem with that, the way it was booked, is by the time the Royal Rumble started, no one could beat Rey Mysterio's record already. So one of the main appeals was already lost. But more important than that, for the individual show, the Royal Rumble match represented the failure of the WWE to push its young stars over recent years, okay? When people like Elijah Burke and other young stars run down to the ring, and you have to wonder, where in the world have they been? When you have to wonder that, you just know how sad the state of affairs is in the WWE with regards to pushing its young stars. And with regards to who won it, if you are surprised by that person's return, then you simply haven't been paying attention. Okay, all the smart fans knew that Cena would be back. Okay, all of us knew that he would be back sometime between the Royal Rumble and right before WrestleMania. It was just a matter of where. Whether it's the Royal Rumble, No Way Out, Raw, or SmackDown before WrestleMania. One of those places. Okay, and the clues were all there during the Royal Rumble. Okay, we knew he was going to come back. Maybe at the Royal Rumble. But clue number 2 that we noticed during the match, during the pay-per-view, there was no tumbler. During the pay-per-view. Normally during the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, you have that spinning canister and skits where wrestlers come out and pull out their numbers. They didn't have that. That was very, very suspicious. Clue number 2. The Royal Rumble was so freaking front-loaded. They put almost all their biggest stars in the beginning of the Royal Rumble in early numbers. Undertaker came out first. He got $1 Million Man. 30 last year, 1 this year, okay? And then Shawn Michaels came out second. And then you had all these big stars coming out so early. I literally asked the person next to me, why is this Royal Rumble so front-loaded? What are they going to have at the end? Why is the end so freaking empty? You know? And then I asked the third question, which was the third clue. I said, have all the participants been announced for the Royal Rumble? And he said, no, there are a couple of open spots left. And then we immediately looked at each other, and I said, oh shit, Cena's coming back tonight, isn't he? And then he said maybe, and then he guessed a few other names, but we pretty much knew in our hearts this was the time. This was where Cena would begin his run at WrestleMania. Okay? And lo and behold, he comes down to the ring, everyone else in the ring turns into a bunch of Malibus, he throws them all out, and there you go. Okay, I didn't know he would win it, but by all the clues, he was coming back at the Royal Rumble. Okay, open your eyes. Okay, open your eyes. The WWE is very, very one-dimensional these days. So as long as your thinking goes beyond that one-dimensional, they are as easy to read as a book sometimes. Okay, the worst WrestleMania of all time. Just when I thought it couldn't get any worse than last year, they go ahead and they pull a new all-time low. This pay-per-view was garbage from beginning to end. From the moment the show started with that midget leprechaun and his dad going up against the $1 Million Man fat version to the time it ended with the most predictable title change in WrestleMania history, I couldn't believe the crap I was watching. And you people defend this crap. When your main attraction is Old Man Rick going up against the He's Bald Kid, you know that you are completely pathetic. A balding rocker versus a 60-year-old? What the hell is wrong with you? This pay-per-view completely, utterly sucked from top to bottom. The set design, it sucked. The lighting, when they had it, it sucked. Chavo and his hair transplant, they both sucked. And Edge? I'd rather watch Gangrel sucking Triple H's dick with his fangs while in a reverse pedigree than watch that mid-carder in my main event, cause he sucks. Batista, we all know he sucks. And the Diva match, which consists of people that should be going to see politicians and not at WrestleMania, it sucked. Even the commentators sucked. Even the cameraman sucked. Even the people behind the scenes, backstage, even the people bringing cookies to the stars, they sucked. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, Here comes that spinny belt loving, average age of 9 chain gang leading motherfucker walking down the aisle like a stupid asshole. Marching band? What does he think this is? The Macy's Day Parade? Stupid, ugly, deformed, big-jawed motherfucker. I know why he has that stupid look on his face all the time. It's because he's a deformed motherfucker. His dick is in reverse position with his anus, so he has to sit down to pee, and I don't even want to think about how he shits. You know, ever since my last video where I criticized the match star rating system for judging a wrestling product, people have asked me, how would you review it then? What is the Pspower system? Well, I think a good place to start would be to look at what comprises a big pay-per-view event, As I said in my last video, I think most people would agree that the pay-per-view event, such as WrestleMania, comprises 3 main elements. The moments before, the pay-per-view itself, and the fallout from the pay-per-view. In other words, the build-up, the payoff, and the aftermath. I think most would agree on these 3 components, which will be our framework as we go along. And for now, I think we can just use the standard 1 to 10 rating system, but before we start, let's get something clear. People bash reviewers who give scores too low. Well, what about people who give scores too high? After every single pay-per-view, you see people on here casually tossing out 9s and even 10s. It's ridiculous. A 10 is the highest you can get. 9s and 10s should be reserved for the absolute best. They should be super rare. Heck, even 8s should be uncommon. In my opinion, when people are just tossing out 9s and 10s like they're nothing, it ruins the credibility of their reviews and downplays the true greats in history. I would not give Bound for Glory a 9, and this WrestleMania that just happened won't get a 9 either. Keep this in mind. Now let's apply this to review WrestleMania 24. Let's not spend too much time on the build-up section because I think we're all in general agreement. It was mediocre. Matches announced with virtually 0 build-up and generic storytelling leading to a mediocre card. A signature of this subpar era that I give a 4.5. I mean, go ahead, push it to a 5 if you want, but we all get the idea. Now let's just quickly move on to the pay-per-view, the payoff section, which was the surprising part. Okay. Someone back there in the WWE needs a raise, okay? Because someone made this pay-per-view so much more special than it should have been. Someone took this weak-ass lead-in, leading to a mediocre card, and transformed it into something special, okay? The pay-per-view itself was like so superior to the lead-up to it, right? It was like it's almost made by different people. It's like almost as if like a college student directed the first third of a movie, then at the end Steven Spielberg walks in and says, okay, I'll take the rest. There is a dramatic difference in quality. Now let's split this middle part up into 4 sections that I think we all value to a degree. First, emotion-wise, I wasn't as driven for this pay-per-view as for past WrestleManias, but this had more to do with the mediocre lead-up than the pay-per-view itself, but I give it about a 5. I was looking at it more like a SummerSlam. Star power is also something that the WWE will need to adjust soon. There was no equivalent on this show of Hogan or Austin in their primes, and the 3 biggest stars of the show, HBK, Taker, and Flair, are all aging products of previous generations. Match-wise, and this is what the star ratings solely focus on, it was solid. Even though the card was weak, they somehow managed to pull it off, and I have to reward that. I give that a 7.5. Memorable moments in the section where this WrestleMania, reigns supreme. The Ric Flair thing is unforgettable and is what this pay-per-view will always be remembered for. I said that 8 should be uncommon, but woo! Is someone like Flair certainly uncommon. Overall, I'd give this show about a 7.5, but if you wanted to push it more towards an 8, I wouldn't even argue with it that much. This pay-per-view was more than it should have been. Now look at this picture. I think so far it tells the story of WrestleMania 24 pretty well. A weak build-up to a show that over-delivered based on matches and memories. Now, isn't this better than just saying 3 stars? The Ric Flair vs. Shawn Michaels match, like Hogan Warrior and Hogan Rock before it, is a prime example of meaning to more than just a match. Because the match itself, while solid, was pretty much textbook. Clotheslines, body slams, suplexes, about 10,000 chops. But that wasn't the main draw of this match. The main draw of this match was the meaning behind it. Our knowledge of the moments before, leading up to this match. The end of a 35-year career versus Mr. WrestleMania. And because you were here for it, because you lived through it, because you lived through this context, you understand this match in a way that kids of the future never will. They'll just never get the full experience. Do you understand the flaws of some kid of the future looking back at this WrestleMania match and saying, 2 stars, 3 stars, it wasn't that special. Or you doing the same to WrestleManias before your time. The final section is the aftermath section, which for now remains unknown. You know, there's a running misconception around here that us TNA fans will somehow unreasonably bash the WWE no matter what. That even if they do something good, we'll just ignore it and keep bashing them, which is false. You see, the ironic thing about this situation is that many of us TNA fans are actually longer-term WWE fans than a lot of these WWE fanboys that defend it blindly. We've been around, we know what's going on, which is why even when the WWE does something good, we are so reluctant to reattach our interests because of the aftermath. Because we have been let down and disappointed so many times over the last few years, where every time there's a glimmer of hope, a good show, a possible fresh storyline, who attacked HBK, who's Vince McMahon's son, we have been completely disappointed. Okay? The aftermath. It's not about, haha, this particular show was better than you expected, in your face. It's about this aftermath. It's about, can you tell us that this time it will be any different? Can you tell us that this time it won't sink back down to its usual low level? That it won't be Cena coming back in 2 months and killing the roster again? That it won't be the same old main event of Orton and Triple H dragging on into the summer? That this time the WWE really has turned the corner? That this time there will be rich storyline? That this time there will be fresh new developing characters, a young new cast in the main event to bring a surge of new excitement and appeal, a fresh era, a new, better generation? Can you tell us that? Because it is this aftermath that is the last part of my review to cement the legacy of what this WrestleMania really was about. So can you tell us that? Can you look at all us TNA fans, all us former fans, all us wrestling fans in the face and tell us that this time the aftermath will be any different than all the other times? Can you tell us that? Or not? Well. If it ain't the dumbass Cena fans here on YouTube. I just got back and I can already tell that you're stupider than ever. Like, what is wrong with these WWE fanboys online, you know? Like, why do they keep still talking like wrestling's still on top? You know, you watch these videos, you read these comments, and they're like ranting and raving, you know, 9.5 out of 10, you know, revenues last month were this, buy rates were this arena sold out, this guy's getting mega. They're talking like it's still 8.1 ratings, you know, like they're like living in their own little dream world, alright? And on top of that, trying to be badass and haters about it, right? Let's get something straight, alright? Let's eat some humble pie. We're the leftovers, okay? We are the leftover fans still hanging around, watching Raw, alongside a bunch of little girls and kids who love spinny belts because everyone else left, okay? When Raw's ratings go from 6s and 8s to 2s and 3s, it's not just the casual fans leaving, it's everybody. It's the moderates, it's the hardcores, it's the longtime fans, it's everybody's leaving, okay? Which brings me to the point of this video, which is that when your company's core fan base leaves in this kind of mass, then something is wrong with your product. It's no longer opinion, it's fact. When your core leaves in this kind of multitude, something is wrong with your product, period. Okay? And a sign of this is that there is nothing you, I, or anyone can say to bring these fans back at the moment. You know, like, what are you going to say to them? You know, are you going to mention Triple H versus Orton? You know, Edge taking The Undertaker's belt? You know, you can say whatever you want. You can say that these matches are good. You can say WrestleMania was better than expected, but it won't do a damn thing because something is wrong with the product. Okay? You know this, I know this, and the WWE knows this. But what does the WWE do as a result? Do they become more fan-friendly? Do they try to reach out to us? No! Instead, they look at us leftover fans that are sitting here and they try to shut us up, okay? Closing accounts, taking signs away, shutting down videos. As a result of this adversity, they become less fan-friendly, alright? The quote in the beginning of this video says it all, okay? Censorship indicates a lack of faith in one's own society, and in this case, a lack of faith in one's own product, alright? I was front row as Backlash, as most of you saw, with my TNA sign. And the second the cameraman went away, here come one of Vince McMahon's goons rushing to my side and grabbing the sign away. Okay? How is my TNA sign different from the WCW, NWO? I'd rather be on watching Raw signs from back in the day. No, it's not different at all. Okay? It's funny that JR used to mention on WWE TV about how the fans are coming to express themselves. Okay, I had a second sign with me. And like the first, it didn't say anything bad. It just said pretty much Pspower. Okay, my username on here. But still, I was advised by event staff that they don't know. It might get taken away. But you know what? Of course, I held it up anyways. It can be seen during the AAA celebration because I went through the trouble of getting front row seats. I paid the gas money to get here, so I should be able to express myself. Right, JR? You know how cartoons suck now? I mean, I know there are exceptions, but the reasons cartoons suck nowadays is because after years of increasing competition from things like video games and anime and other online things, cartoons began to simplify their product and shifted to target only but the youngest of audiences. And that's why cartoons suck now, right? Now let's talk about Batman, okay? Tim Burton's dark, gothic, original vision is regarded as a classic, and people love the new, mature, realistic Batman Begins atmosphere. The only thing ruining the legacy is that kiddie bullshit Batman and Robin garbage in the middle, right? After Warner Brothers apparently thought that Tim Burton's vision was too dark and too mature to move merchandise with, they kiddified the shit out of their product in order to sell more toys to little kids. Now, wrestling fans, does this sound a little familiar? I mean, do these two examples kind of, ring a bell, After the departures of the big name stars like Hogan, Rock, and Austin, and the increasing competition from things like UFC, the WWE began to kidify the shit out of their product in order to sell the spinny belts to the youngest of audiences. And now they are getting ready to Phantom Menace the shit out of the product and Batman and Robin us all. Alright? Their product is of extreme concern right now. Alright? But this video is not about the product, as bad as it's going to get. Okay? This video is about the other half of the equation that people on here seem to almost completely ignore, and that is the customer relationship issue. Okay, because lately I've been reading all these people on here saying things like, Raw's been getting a little bit better. The last 2 pay-per-views were not too bad, Like, why haven't ratings improved? Why is it still 3.2, 3.4? Things are getting a little better, The answer to that question, the reason is because at this point we are just so far beyond just simple product quality issues, okay? Over the last 3 years, the WWE has severed its relationship with its fans. Over the last 3 years, the WWE has continuously let the fans down, censored them, ignored them, and slapped them in the face. And you know what happens to customers when you do that to them? They walk out the door. They walk out the door, and at that point, even if you start waving at them, even if you start offering up some good things, they're not coming right back. Okay? And that's reasonable. And that's understandable. Okay? And that's what these little fanboys and Cena lovers can't seem to get into their tiny little brains. Okay? You see them on here actually trying to blame the fans, actually trying to put it on the fans, saying things like, the last few Raws were good. How dare the people not watch? Or, they gave CM Punk the belt like people wanted. How dare they still not be satisfied? You know, they just don't get it, okay? Their tiny little brains just don't get it. In their brains, it's as simple as product ratings, product buy rates, okay? They don't understand that we as the fans, after years of abuse, have emotionally divorced ourselves from the WWE, okay? That once the insulted fans walk out the door, it can be very hard to get them back. And at that point, simple product quality improvements week to week won't do a damn thing anymore. Okay? That's what they need to understand, okay? Because along with product quality improvements, which is very much needed in today's WWE, the WWE needs to seriously make a sincere effort to try to repair the customer relationship with their fans before any type of real resurgence can possibly occur. And that doesn't look like it's going to happen, does it? The knockout division in TNA has outgrown the need for Gail Kim. Now, while I respect her contributions to the knockout division in terms of starting it up, I always thought that Gail Kim was way overrated, both as a wrestler and as a character. I mean, don't you even remember her in the WWF? She was botching like crazy. She was falling on her ass more than the American Gymnast. And in terms of outside the ring, I can't remember a damn promo of hers worth noting, nor can I identify exactly what her character even is beyond anything generic. Alright, she was way generic, way overrated. You know who should be the face of the knockout division? Angelina Love. Look at that performance. She disappears completely into her character. Alright? I can't see the actress underneath at all. At all. Can you? Remember in the women's reverse cage match when she was the first one in the ring? And she started posing and flaunting as everyone else fought on the outside? That's it right there. That's the it factor, okay? She needs to grab that Velvet Sky by the hair, Marty Jannetty her through the window, and take her place atop of the women's division. If only she had the support of the company. And if only she would stop talking about Canada so damn much, okay? Every other word she says is Canada. What's so good about Canada, you know? They make Orangina. Who cares? You know, it's not even that good anymore. You know, they took like all the Pope out, so now when you shake it, nothing even happens. What's wrong with you? You know? Anyway, yeah. Gail Kim's departure will not be a huge blow to the knockout division, much less kill the division. Not even close, okay? Maybe it's a good thing that Gail Kim is going to WWF, you know? Maybe she can add a touch of class to those stripper-looking divas. Like a kick-ass crowd, kick-ass commentary can add so much to a wrestling show, but the question is, what happened to it? What happened to the commentary in the WWE and especially in TNA? The problems with commentary in TNA have been well documented, but what I can add is an example, alright? Hall and Nash in the Impact Zone late last year talking about who Sting's mystery partner is demonstrates everything that is wrong with commentary in TNA today, alright? The commentators nearly ruined the scene, okay? Mike Tenay wouldn't shut up. Check it out for yourself. All you have to do is type in Hall, Nash, TNA, and it's the first one. Okay, here we have two of the biggest stars of the Attitude Era, the Outsiders, in the ring together at last talking to each other, and Mike Tenay won't shut the fuck up! You know? He felt the need to interrupt constantly with his talking during the segment for every little thing. You know? Like Scott Hall would start off with, "Hey, yo. Well, there's the opening line we're so used to." And then Scott Hall would say, "Been a long time, big man." And the crowd cheers for him. "Well, it's pretty obvious the crowd likes to have him back." And then Scott Hall would say, "I thought we were still dyeing our hair." "Well, that brought a smile to Kevin Nash." Say, shut the fuck up. Why do you need to feel the need to constantly talk during a segment that stands on its own? You know, at WrestleMania 24, when Ric Flair was walking down for his final WrestleMania match, did you notice how relatively quiet the commentators were? When the Ultimate Warrior was running down to his triumphant return at WrestleMania 12, did you notice the long gaps in silence by the commentators? In the Olympics, when a gymnast is taking the stage for his make-or-break performance, do you notice how relatively quiet the commentators are? It's because they're allowing for the drama to unfold on the screen and for the audience to capture the emotion of the moment. Okay? The look on Ric Flair's face as he walks down for his final WrestleMania match. Alright? The way the gymnast walks on the stage. The image of his parents holding hands in the crowd and his coach shaking by the wall. These are the moments. And kayfabe or not, during these critical moments, during an athlete's life, you shut the fuck up. You allow the audience to connect with the emotion of the athletes, not to you. Okay? You don't talk constantly during the scene. You know, well, there's the opening line we're so used to. Well, that brought a smile to Kevin Nash's face. Well, it's pretty obvious the crowd likes to have it back. If it's obvious, then why do you need to say it? Shut the fuck up. So that's the first problem I have with commentary today, at least in TNA, you know, is that instead of supporting the scene, they take away from it. The second problem I have is that it's plain old boring, okay? You know, in video games, the commentating's so boring because they say the same generic things over and over again. Well, that's not too far off from reality these days, is it? Right? Like, I'm sorry, right? I've been a Joe supporter. I supported him all last year, right? But his commentary work, Last Impact, was pathetic, and his title reign has been boring as hell, okay? Like, when he was commentating, after his commentating last week on Impact, it was so devoid of personality and energy that by the end of it, alright, I seriously doubted whether he had the charisma to lead the company. You know, and when he got in the ring with Kevin Nash, I seriously wanted Kevin to just jackknife him through the ring just for bombing as head of the company so badly on the mic. Okay, remember when wrestling commentary was exciting and energetic and charismatic? Remember when Jesse Ventura was commentating? Remember Roddy Piper on the mic? You know, remember Mr. Perfect commentating? Remember how exciting and fun that was? You know, Vince McMahon would be like, how do you beat The Undertaker? And Perfect would be like, that's easy! Perfect got some! You know, and he'd be saying stuff like, if Barry Owens wins the Royal Rumble, I'm getting back in the ring! You know, and remember the way he'd play with his pencil? Remember when Phineas Godwin approached the commentating booth and he's like, hey, how you doing? Get out of here! And he'd throw the pencil at him, you know? I'm sorry, you know, Joe is a talented guy, you know, and he makes a pretty mean, angry face. But as far as charisma goes, he is just miles away from the likes of The Rock, Austin, and Mr. Perfect. Remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mr. Perfect were commentating together? Remember Austin was like, I can kick Mark Merrill's ass! I can kick your ass, Perfect! And Perfect was like, you shut your mouth so you can kick my ass until you've done it! And they were just arguing, and it was just so entertaining. At that point, there could have been two jobbers in the ring, and the show would still be kicking ass. You know, now imagine if they were commentating over, putting over a match that was good. You know, it'd blow the roof off the building, you know? Oh, when wrestling was good. Fix the commentary. Some of my viewers seem to be a little bit confused by the goofy nature of my recent videos. They wonder, whatever happened to all the anger, all the rage, you know, the pissed off 10-minute wrestling shoots? The thing is, when I started in early 07, I was really angry, okay? I was pissed off at how unwatchable the WWE had gotten, and I came on here just to vent about it. But at this point in the game, you know, look at the product we have right now. Just look at it, you know. The product has been so lame and so boring for so long. You know, what do you want me to say? You know, what do you want me to say? Okay? Both the WWE and the TNA have their problems right now, right? The WWE is guilty of completely going down the toilet, and TNA is guilty of not getting any better. You know, 1.0 forever, right? The Cena lovers can make all the excuses they want, but the bottom line is that there's really nothing left to say. You know, there is nothing left to say. Let's just go watch football, you know? But throughout the years, these Cena lover idiots have been a barrage of non-stop excuses. You know, when the ratings fell to 4.2, it was excuses. When it dropped to the mid-3s, more excuses. When it dropped to the 3.2s, more excuses. When the ratings dropped to 2.6, still excuses. You know, you Cena lovers idiots realize that you're being counterproductive when you do that, right? You realize that when you do that, you are denying that there's even a problem with the product quality to begin with. You know, it's like denying you have a flat tire. You know, you're like, boom, there goes another one. That's okay. Sparks are supposed to be coming out the side of the car. Just a source of non-stop excuses that annoy the rest of us wrestling fans, and tonight I destroy one of the biggest ones of them all during the Cena invincibility era. And that's the common one we always hear, oh, you know, Cena's t-shirts, you know, they sell, you know, so that's why he needs to be invincible like that, you know, or, you know, kids, they're buying the spinny belt. Therefore, it deserves to exist, okay? Let me explain something to you morons, okay? Sometimes when I talk to these Cena lovers, I feel like I'm talking to a bunch of blithering idiots, so try to keep up, okay? Here I go, okay? Just because a product is selling does not necessarily mean it's worth keeping. Whoa, that just blow your idiot minds, doesn't it? You know, let me repeat. Just because a product is selling does not necessarily mean it's worth keeping, all right? Let me give you an example, all right? If Nintendo made The Legend of Zelda for PlayStation, would it sell? Hell yeah, it'd sell. Would they make a lot of money? You damn straight they'd make a lot of money, probably break a lot of records. But should Nintendo and would Nintendo ever do it? Hell no, they would never do such a thing, even if it would make a shitload of money, because that product is not worth doing if it conflicts with what the company wants to do overall to better itself, alright? Still don't believe me? Let me give you a real world example, okay? You know that Glide floss, you know? It was like that revolutionary microfiber floss that came out. It was the company's #1 seller, by far. It was their spinny belt. It was their #1 seller. It was drawing like crazy, but you know what the company did with it in the peak of its sales? They sold it. They sold it to Crest. So now when you go to the store, it says Crest Glide. All right? Are they stupid? Are they morons? No. They understood that the product was not worth keeping because it conflicted with what they wanted to do as a company overall to better their overall product. All right? And if any of you are in college or studying business or whatever, you might just read about what a good decision this was. All right? The Cena era began in early 2005. Since then, the ratings and the product quality have gone completely down the toilet, alright? But here you Cena idiots are, praising and ranting, saying Cena still needs to be completely at the top because that t-shirt is selling. Shut up! These losers could not get any dumber. Once again, they have interrupted a scheduled flow of videos with their relentless stupidity. You know, and you know what the most messed up thing about these morons is that when you first read their inarticulate and barely readable insults, you might think to yourself, you know, they're probably just little kids, you know? But then you go to their page and find out they're like 20, you know? What the hell? You know, like, we are literally talking to a bunch of blithering idiots, you know? It's like that movie, Something About Mary, you know, where the guy goes, you know, I work with retards, you know, and then the girl goes, isn't that a little politically incorrect? And the guy goes, hell, nobody's going to tell me who I can and can't hang out with, you know? That's us, you know? We're hanging out with a bunch of dumbasses, you know? Dumbasses who are it's just so far off in their fantasy world, you know, reading dirt sheets and making things up as they go along, that when one of us comes in and tries to give them a dose of reality, it just completely blows their minds, you know? It's like we just put an Xbox game in a Sega Genesis or something, you know? Their 16-bit brains are just overloaded, and now they have to insult us, you know? And the hilarious thing about this is that their constant overuse of the word business while they make things up, you know? Well, you don't know about the business, you know? The business is like this, the business is like that, you know? You want to talk about business? Okay, let's talk business. Alright, every business has a basic plan for the future, and this is just purely my fan opinion on what happened with the WWE. My opinion as a fan is that ever since they lost their big stars, the WWE has wanted to force the creation of the next Hulk Hogan. In 2005, they handpicked John Cena to be this guy, and since then have shoved his ass down our throats to try to reach this goal. I think we can agree on all this so far. But can you see the problem with this picture? Can you see it? The problem is that nobody knows what the hell is going to happen with this push along the way. Crap happens in business. This push could win, or it could flop. Cena could quit, or he could stay. The fans might cheer. They might boo him. You just don't know what is going to happen push-wise along the way. And this is why most businesses have a bunch of well-prepared alternate decisions, just in case. So let's say some crap happens here. Like Cena starts getting booed or owned or whatever. You can modify your way to an alternate path and you're still good to go. This is business planning. But the WWE, they didn't do this, did they? No. Instead, they said, screw all this business back up. We are going to go all eggs in one basket, full on John Cena or nothing. Music, movies, booking, storylines, running over the entire roster, all or nothing. But the thing is, did they get it? Did they make the next Hulk Hogan? Did they make the next Stone Cold Steve Austin? The answer is a resounding no. Even though he did get a pretty large fan base as expected, come on. Booed out of 3 WrestleManias, booed out of his own hometown, declining Raw ratings, he was never able to reach that pinnacle, even after a historical push that sacrificed the entire roster. Can you see now why people hate the Cena character? Can you see why we still mention him, even though he's away for the moment? It's because right now, we are here. Right here. Right in the aftermath of the roster-crushing push, dealing with a steamrolled and weakened Raw locker room after Cena pretty much owned everything for the last 2 years. And you wonder why we still mention him. Imagine the possibilities. Imagine what could have been. Imagine if the WWE was actually open to more than one possibility. Imagine if they had alternate destinations as well as alternate participants. So that this way, if something screws up, say, here, the possibilities for greatness are still wide open. This is what could have been. Yet this is what you defend. What's wrong with you? I'm not even sure why I just said all that. I mean, they're not going to get it, right? They are not going to get it, you know. As the WWE product continues to go down the tubes, the WWE fan base is going back to being the lowest common denominator, you know, characterized by confused anger by morons who over the last few years actually defended Cena's mega push, who actually defended him running over the entire roster, who actually defended him beating the tag team champions on his own, and who actually defended him with Orton taking on the entire Raw roster and actually kicking ass. And after all that, who now actually come on here and wonder why the main event scene hasn't changed and wonder why I'm still talking about Cena. Shut up! Oh, but Power, you're biased. WWE for life. I'm 20. You know, of the big 4 pay-per-views during this crappy WWE era, Survivor Series is probably the one that gets me the most upset because in my opinion, it's the one that's been most robbed of its identity. I mean, don't you remember what Survivor Series used to be about? You know, the Thanksgiving tradition where teams of 4 or 5 strive to survive, right? You know, it was about storyline and build-up. Bring all these people together to form all these alliances, you know, each with their own unique identity and their own purpose for why they're going into battle. You know, you had the Hulkamaniacs, and they were like the All-American team, you know, with Hogan and Bossman and Tugboat and Hacksaw. Then you had like the $1 Million team, and it was always with like Ted DiBiase and his hired thugs to take down one of the wrestlers. And then you had like the Warriors, and they were always like the cool team, you know, they had like LOD and the Rockers, and they took on the Heenan family. You know, the Survivor Series was always about purpose-based alliances formed from storyline, each with their own cause and their own flag that they carried into battle, all right? It's not about these random teams just thrown together 2 weeks before the show starts, you know? That's meaningless. It's embarrassing, and it's an insult to what Survivor Series once stood for, all right? Like, can anyone even run down the names of the people in these new teams right now? You know, they don't represent anything, all right? Yes, Survivor Series is about elimination matches, but it's also about the teams, the alliances, and the build-up to the teams and what they represent, all right? This garbage, it's not even Survivor Series, you know? It's like a shell of Survivor Series. It's more like a Survivor Series light, you know? It's like a diet version of Survivor Series. Alright, so the elimination matches are a joke. So let's see what other matches we can talk about on here. Let's see. Oh yeah. Jericho versus Cena. Yeah, that's right. Chris Jericho versus John Cena. Wait a minute. Am I giving a Survivor Series preview or a SummerSlam 05 review? Let's think about this for a second. What are the difference between the two matches? Oh yeah, that's right. The SummerSlam 05 match is the one that actually had build-up and storyline. Yeah, that's right. They had the ongoing feud, and they had the whole Rap versus Rock thing. They actually had true build-up going in. You know, as opposed to this new one, which pretty much has nothing besides the fact that one of the guys has been gone for 2 months. So let's think about this for a second. Both matches will probably end up being pretty comparable. But, basically, if the superior version already happened, then why the fuck should I care about this one? Alright, so let's see what other matches are on here. Alright, The Taker in his signature match versus The Big Show. / Yokozuna / Kamala. Yes, indeedy, ladies and gentlemen, this is the same old shit. Alright, first of all, the match itself is going to suck, alright? The only way any of these matches ever work is if the Taker's fighting someone like Shawn Michaels or Mick Foley or somebody, alright? But other than that, alright, the match is going to suck, alright? They might have some spots planned out, maybe somebody goes through the table or something, but other than that, it's going to be the same old slow punches outside the ring, you know, someone gets thrown into the stairs, same old shit, okay? And on top of that, you know, all these matches end one of two ways, alright? Either the Undertaker wins triumphantly, or the bad guy somehow cheats to win, and then the Undertaker makes his triumphant return later on. You know, come on, you know, is there anybody actually defending this match? I mean, what is this, your first pay-per-view? And finally, we have our main event, which pits Triple H putting his belt on the line against Kurrgan the Interrogator. Kurrgan the Interrogator. What the hell is he doing in my main event? Shouldn't he be dancing around with the oddities? You know, but now, not only is he in a match for the World Heavyweight Championship, people are actually cheering for him to win. Oh my goodness. It's a joke, okay? It's a complete joke. Survivor Series has become a joke, and the WWE has become a joke. And am I BSing? Am I just being biased? I don't think so. After all, the legacy and greatness of the WWE from times before is well documented, alright? Both on tape and in the memories of millions of wrestling fans. The main problem with the WWE right now is not that they're currently sucking, alright? It's their absolute refusal to get any better. Because personally, I'll stick around with a wrestling promotion, even if they're sucking for a little while, so long as I'm truly confident that they are working their asses off to fix the problems. But the WWE, not only are they not fixing the problem, they're adding to the damage, okay? Which is why we can't stick around, alright? Which is why people are leaving, because there is nothing to look forward to. I mean, after Survivor Series, what do we got, alright? We got Are We Sucking? Followed by the Royal Stumble and No Way Good, leading in to Entertainia 25. And come on, there's no choice but to go to TNA. Alright, now let's talk about some of these matches for Are We Sucking? Alright, first let's talk about the Intercontinental title match between CM Punk and Rey Mysterio Jr. Alright, now while I respect both of these guys as athletes, to all you morons who are trying to say that this is somehow going to bring some kind of gigantic prestige to the IC belt, are you kidding me? These are two former World Heavyweight Champions. Rey Mysterio is a WrestleMania title winner, and CM Punk just recently had the world title belt stolen from him. Why would CM Punk want the IC title belt at this point? The only way he'd want it is to use it as a stepping stone to get his world title back, right? It would be like when Chris Jericho had the IC belt. It would be meaningless, alright? The IC belt should not be a stepping stone. It should be the goal. I would honestly rather watch Goldust fighting for the Intercontinental belt, because at least I can believe that he really wants it, alright? Goldust loved being Intercontinental Champion. He made it a part of his identity. Remember how he would used to like hold it like it was his baby? Alright? It was his treasure. And that's what the Intercontinental belt should be. It should be treasure. Alright? Bret Hart Perfect, Warrior Rude, Steamboat Savage, fighting for the treasure. When Razor Ramon won the Intercontinental title tournament, it was like such a huge victory for him. And he made it a part of his identity. Then Shawn Michaels comes back with his own IC title belt and starts calling himself the real Intercontinental Champion. And at that point, the Intercontinental Championship meant so much. Because here you had two amazing athletes who clearly identified themselves with the belts, fighting their asses off for it. CM Punk versus Rey Mysterio fighting for the Intercontinental title at this point makes about as much sense as having Hulk Hogan versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at Entertainia fighting for the U.S. title. You can't believe in it! Now let's talk about some of these other matches, alright? Have you noticed something? Have you noticed how, like Backlash over WrestleMania, a lot of these matches are just simple upgrades over Survivor Series? I mean, most of us, I think, would take Batista Orton over Big Show Taker any day. They're doing Cena versus Jericho, except this time there's actually storyline and build-up going in. And Triple H Hardy Edge is a clear and supreme upgrade over Triple H Kurrgan. So, you know what it seems like? It seems like the WWE thinks that it can try to sell the Big Four pay-per-views off their names alone. So they're going to hold back and give us a second-rate product for the Big Four pay-per-views, and then a month later, give us a lot of the stuff that we should have had in the first place, just to make us buy more pay-per-views, right? And I can hear the bullshitters now, right? It's always been that way, right? Well, has it? Right? Since we've been talking about Survivor Series, let's stick with Survivor Series. And to leave no doubt, let's go way back. Let's go to Survivor Series 1995, the Bret Hart Kevin Nash Classic, arguably Kevin Nash's best match. We still see clips of that match for today. Was it upstaged the month later? Absolutely not. Now let's jump into the Attitude Era, Survivor Series 98. The Rock becomes a corporate champion in one of the most memorable storyline moments of all time. Right? Was it upstaged the next month? Absolutely not. Mankind got his rematch, but Survivor Series was still clearly the epitome. Alright, now let's jump out of the Attitude Era. Survivor Series 02. Alright? Shawn Michaels wins the Elimination Chamber in a classic match that was not upstaged a month later when he fought Triple H. Alright? The Big Four pay-per-views are supposed to be just that. They're supposed to be the biggest 4 pay-per-views of the year, right? Royal Rumble is supposed to be huge. WrestleMania is supposed to be the Super Bowl. SummerSlam is supposed to be the absolute biggest event of the summer. And Survivor Series is supposed to be the Thanksgiving night tradition. Alright? They're supposed to be huge. They're not supposed to be upstaged by the In Your House the month after. Alright? Because you know what happens when you do that? When you do that, the big name pay-per-views start to lose their prestige. Alright? SummerSlam becomes no longer the biggest event of the summer. Survivor Series becomes no longer the spectacular. Right? They become just another pay-per-view, which is absolutely ridiculous. You know, WWE, what are you doing? You know, first you kill the prestige of your title belts, now you kill the prestige of your pay-per-views? Talk about phoning it in! Oh yeah. And let's not forget about the clear match of the night. Matt Hardy versus Kurrgan version 2.0. Now, considering this is going to be the clear MOTY candidate, I'm going to have to give it a star rating of pi. That's 3.142985743298444. Alright, you want me to make a more serious wrestling video? I'll make a more serious wrestling video. I want to talk about a major assumption that seems to be going on around here that's been annoying the heck out of me. The assumption is that the wrestling fan base, the fans out there, will just openly embrace the young stars of TNA, the X Division, in the absence of the veterans. Basically, they're assuming that these young TNA stars are somehow destined for greatness. And from that, form the opinion that all that needs to happen is for these older guys like Steiner and Booker T to just step aside and the world will just automatically love and embrace these new young TNA stars in the X Division, and the product quality will skyrocket and TNA will become golden. Which is absolutely ridiculous. Alright, but that's what happens when you base an opinion off a major assumption like that. You end up depending on that assumption to beat the odds to try to be true. Alright? Don't these idiots ever think about what would happen if the assumption proved faulty? What would happen if TNA got rid of all these big name stars and the world didn't love AJ Styles and the world didn't love Alex Shelley and the company tanked? Alright? What then? I think the problem is that these nerds are using this like little geeky YouTube community as a reference for what the entire wrestling fan base wants. We like the X Division, therefore wrestling likes the X Division. Right? Wrong. Okay? Don't these idiots ever stop to realize how unappealing the X Division is to a lot of people? How silly it looks, not just the casual fan, but to a lot of wrestling fans across the board. TNA recently got some of its highest viewerships of all time, and there's a reason why the X Division has been relegated to web matches. I mean, I like Sabin and Shelley, I like the X Division, but is that a reference for what the wrestling fan base as a whole wants? No. Likewise, is a bunch of YouTubers on here actually wanting TNA to get rid of some of its biggest names a reference to what the fan base as a whole wants? I doubt it. Another assumption is that these new young guys are even ready to lead. I mean, people like to assume that because he's a TNA original and because he has a lot of talent in the ring, that AJ Styles should be the next big thing. He should be the next face of the company, the next big leader. But the thing about that is that seniority and in-ring talent don't necessarily constitute leadership. I mean, I like AJ Styles. He has a lot of in-ring talent and he seems like a cool guy. But the fact of the matter is that when I try to objectively look at him on the screen, there's nothing about his demeanor, his behavior, or his body language that strikes me as being a leader. He's too reserved. He doesn't come out at the screen at you, you know? I mean, take off your assumption glasses for a second and just look at him, you know? Does he strike you as being the next Rock, the next Austin, the next Shawn Michaels, the next Hogan, whatever? Now, I know the idiots are going to spin this, so let's make this perfectly clear, okay? I am not against pushing the young stars. I'm for pushing the young stars. All I'm doing is I'm responding to what appears to be assumptions going around here that has resulted in a mentality based on substitution, alright? Take Angle out, put AJ in. Take Steiner out, put Sabin in, right? All I'm saying is that I reject that assumption and I reject that mentality and instead prefer to go with a concept of integration. Alright? Let's see what these young guys can do, alright? The main event scene, they're super important. They're our bread and butter, alright? There are big names, but let's see what these young guys can do. Alright? Kind of like Survivor Series 92. The main event scene was still Savage and Flair, but in the mid-card, you had Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship. It almost, in hindsight, seemed like a trial run, you know? Let's put these guys out there, let's see how the crowd reacts, let's see how it goes, alright? It wasn't about substitution, it wasn't about fire Flair, fire Savage, they're old, and put these young guys in because the nerd said so, alright? That's ridiculous, alright? Integration, not substitution. You know there's like a million different flavors of ice cream out there right now? Well, I had this one friend who was like in love with this one particular flavor. It was like this kiwi combination weird mix. Him and his roommates would scarf the snot out of this flavor, right? The rule was that in the freezer there was always to be 2 boxes. And if one box was finished, they would have to go get another one. Well, about a couple months or so ago, me and my friend went to the store and as per usual, he went to the back to the freezer section to pick up the ice cream. I walked around the store, and eventually I walked towards the freezer section, and there he was, looking up and down, you know. He couldn't find the ice cream, you know. He was like, where is it? You know, and he's like, wow, man, this flavor is like really gaining in popularity. They're like sold out. So then we go to the second place. Still, they didn't have it. So we went and asked that little loser who was there, and he's like, I don't think they sell that one anymore. And my friend, like, he couldn't believe it, you know, like, he got mad at first. He's like, BS, you know? This is like the best flavor ever. Why in the world would they stop making this? It took him about a month to finally accept that this product was discontinued due to low demand, right? Because in his universe, you know, in his little bubble, this was like the greatest and most likable flavor out there. This little YouTube community, wrestling community we're in, seems to live in its own little bubble, right? Because in here, we seem to have already decided what's the best, decided what's good and what's not good, right? In here, people have already decided that the X Division is the wrestling style of the future and that AJ is the next big thing. But the thing about that is that what if what's being said inside this bubble is not the same as what's happening outside the bubble? What if there are people out there that really don't like the X Division? What if, as I travel around to all these live TNA events, people still pop like crazy for Nash, Steiner, and Sting? What if TNA finally broke 1.3 ratings and got their then largest audience ever with Sting and Angle in the main event? What if the opinions in here are misaligned with the opinions out there? Right? Don't confuse hopes with reality, dreams with reality. Because when people around here say, TNA, the X Division is like the next big thing, the biggest wave of the future, and that AJ Styles is the next HBK, are those realities or are those dreams? Victory cannot rest on dreams alone. And TNA cannot always be going out of their way to cater to the ones in this particular bubble. And on top of that, I don't even find this particular bubble that reliable. I mean, look around. It's a freaking popularity contest around here, All these people jumping on and off bandwagons, turning on each other, willing to change positions at the snap of a finger just to look smart, just to look like a knowledgeable wrestling fan, right? Like about a month ago, I received this message from a guy telling me how great TNA is, how great everything's going. Then, like last week, I get a message from the same guy talking about, TNA sucks now. They've been sucking for a long time. Basically repeating what a lot of other people on here are saying just to look smart, just to look like an intelligent wrestling fan, just to try to come across as some kind of expert. Well, let me ask you so-called experts something. If a man of learning does not understand the concept of brotherhood, then is not his learning worthless? I mean, who's going to respect a guy who's going around stepping on his own toes and the toes of others, including friends, just to be trendy, just to look smart? How much is his word worth? As far as I'm concerned, not much. Now, this goes back to the late 90s, but remember that game, Duke Nukem? Well, yeah. I was the beast at that game. I used to beat the snot out of this one guy over and over again. Almost every single game, I'd beat him about 50 to 10. I remember it was about 50 to 10 just about every single game. No matter what strategy he tried, I would stomp his face. Well, this one day, one of his friends gave me an adult video to pass along to him. And I refused to give it to him. I held it back from him. And I remember he was getting so mad, and we were on the phone, and I finally told him, all right, I'll give you this tape if you beat me in Duke Nukem. He beat the crap out of me in that game. I remember I couldn't believe it. I could barely see him. He was like diving backwards, jumping around corners. He whipped my freaking ass in that game. And even though we played so many games prior to that game, even though I won all those other games, even though those games technically were better in terms of strategy and length, this is the match we always refer back to. This is the match we consider our classic. Why do we consider this our classic? Because of the significance of it all. Because the stakes were raised. Because porn was on the line. This was basically like a title match, where the importance of the match was derived by the prestige of what was on the line. One of the reasons why wrestling is so boring these days, in my opinion, despite all the 4-star matches, is because of the loss of prestige of the title belts. And as the belts lose prestige, the stakes are lowered and the matches lose significance, despite some of them being technically pretty good. Remember when the belts meant everything? I think so many of us can replay that scene of Hogan missing the leg drop and Warrior going for the pin over and over again because of the epicness of it all. Because at the time it was like, oh man, what's going to happen now? It felt like a new era. It felt like the whole company shifted because of this new world champion. These days, the belts don't mean anything. Does it really matter this week whether Triple H or JBL is champion? No, it feels exactly the same. It doesn't feel any different. The belts these days are like Coco Beware's bird. They're props. And on top of that, there are so many of them that it dilutes the value further. The WWE and TNA need to go back to a time when the belts meant something. It needs to go back to a time where the WWE or the WWF back then basically revolved around the heavyweight title and the Intercontinental title. In other words, the championship belts in professional wrestling need to be as important as porn.
You know, in my Survivor Series preview vid, I talked about how, in my opinion, as a fan, it looked as if the WWE was kind of watering down its big four pay-per-views and then later on giving us stuff we should have gotten in the first place. In other words, the big name pay-per-views get the watered down card, while the lesser pay-per-views get the stronger cards. And the mentality behind all this, in my opinion, seems to be, you know, people are going to order Survivor Series, people are going to order WrestleMania because it's Survivor Series and because it's WrestleMania. So why should we give them that dream card? You know, why not save this stuff for later and spread it out over the next few pay-per-views? Right? So what we get as a result of all this is all these big name pay-per-views with cards that are questionable if they're worthy of the title. You know, like we get these matches that seem to be randomly thrown together at the last minute, like in Survivor Series, and we get all these rematches for WrestleMania. Like my Survivor Series preview vid, I was planning on doing a WrestleMania preview vid where I went through each of the matches one by one and talked about them. But the thing about it is, when I look at the card, how am I supposed to do that with all these freaking rematches? Look, you got Orton versus Triple H again, you got Taker versus HBK again, and you got Edge versus Cena again. Oh wait, this time they threw in the Big Show, and it's arguable whether that makes it better or worse. You know, and the thing is, people always say, you know, what's wrong with rematches? Well, technically nothing's wrong with rematches, except that this is freaking WrestleMania. You know, the Super Bowl of them all, Hogan Andre, Flair Savage, Rock Hogan, you know. How in the world is HBK Taker going to live up to their Hell in the Cell match? The answer is that it's not. And you know what the embarrassing thing about it is? The embarrassing thing is that their Hell in a Cell match wasn't even a WrestleMania match. It was an in-your-house match. You know, should a WrestleMania match of significance be a lesser version of an in-your-house match? You know, it's like 10 years ago, both Taker and HBK were faster and younger and fought each other at In Your House. Now 10 years later, they're arguably co-headlining a WrestleMania in a regular match, and people are going, oh man, match of the year, wow, this is awesome, wrestling's back. What in the world are you thinking? Where did your standards go? People like to get on my case because I'm criticizing the WWE, because I'm not supporting the WWE as they're supposedly getting better on their road to WrestleMania. They say I'm like not a true wrestling fan or something. I'm a fake wrestling fan. I'm a wannabe wrestling fan or something. All right? Which is completely ridiculous, all right? Because in my opinion, if anyone's the wannabe wrestling fan, it's you haters trying to hate on me for criticizing the WWE. Why? Because you accept the status quo. Right? Mediocrity is good enough for you. As the WWE and wrestling in general lowers in product quality, you lower your standards to accommodate that, to the point where Big Show versus Edge versus Cena qualifies as a WrestleMania main event title match to you. Right? You've come to the point where it seems you don't even want great. You just want things not to be bad, it seems. Right? You hear it around here all the time. Right? Come on, that last Raw wasn't bad. Just admit it. It wasn't bad. Right? WrestleMania has a lot of rematches, but come on, it's not bad. Since when does not bad equal good? Right? Since when does not bad equal great? Right? Like, I mean, is that how you guys look at women? Is that how you choose who to go out with? You know? Come on, you know? She's not bad, you know? She's not 300 pounds. She's only 200 pounds. I mean, she's not a rhino. She's just a water buffalo.
First of all, I had to take heat just for ordering this WrestleMania, right? Because I was calling people because I wanted to split the bill, and they got on my case about it, right? They're like, why do you want to watch that stupid crap? You know, it's Triple H versus Orton again, and they were just in a triple threat match last year, alright? Wouldn't you feel ripped off? Wouldn't you feel the WWE is making a fool out of you? You know, but I take the heat, I order the show, and what do I see? Epic fail. This was a total disgrace for a WrestleMania. This was the 12 rounds equivalent of WrestleMania. the XFL equivalent of WrestleMania, the WBF equivalent of WrestleMania, the gobbledygooker of WrestleMania, the Shockmaster of WrestleMania. Alright? If WrestleMania 17 is the hot girl in the room with the big hooters, then WrestleMania 25 is the big fat water buffalo sitting in the corner drawing butterflies in her Zac Efron notebook. Alright? This WrestleMania is like Amazing Kong in a bikini. If you like what you see, then you'll like anything. Alright? And as far as I'm concerned, you need to be smacked by Mae Young's breast or something. Alright? Let's run through this entertainment. First we had Money in the Bank. Now, I talked about how awesome last year's Money in the Bank was, how I thought it was well prepared, well written, and well performed. Well, this year's Money in the Bank was the lazy version of that. It was lackluster, right? The performers once again did their job, but they were let down by the writing, alright? You had this whole section where people were just diving outside the ring, alright? Christian dives outside the ring, MVP dives outside the ring, Shelton comes off the ladder, Kofi and Punk dive outside the ring, and then Hornswoggle dives outside the ring. You know, what was that? The punchline? And then you have Kofi climbing up the ladder, which was cool, but I think that's been done before. You know, this whole match felt like it was written by an idiot at 2 a.m. right before going to bed. You know, this whole match, you know, felt like it reminded me of a fat girl bragging about her bra size. You know, I mean, it looks good on paper, but when you look, that's a different story. Even though the Money in the Bank was lazy, though, it was still exciting. You know, it was still Money in the Bank. You know, and it got the crowd excited, and it got WrestleMania off to a fast start, which I like. But what does the WWE do at this point? Do they roll into the next match, keep the momentum going? No. They have Kid Rock come out and sing, by my count, 5 songs, alright? It became a rock concert that seemed to go on forever after only one match had taken place on the air. You know, any momentum that the Money in the Bank started up disappeared like virgins on prom night. You know, and to compound things further, they used the last song for all the divas to come out at the same time. You know, such that when the match started, I had no idea who was where doing what. You know, like, where's Sunny? You know, I could barely find her. You know, what's the point of having people like Sunny come back for WrestleMania when you're not going to introduce her? You know, it made the whole thing like an exercise in pointlessness. You know, why you gotta be so pointless? Let's see, now so far we've had a lazy Money in the Bank, a rock concert that seemed to go on forever, and a pointless diva match. And what does the WWE give us after that? Chris Jericho getting knocked down after one punch by an actor. Alright, Jericho goes in the ring and he beats Piper, dominates Snuka, beats Steamboat, who was a beast, gets the best of Ric Flair, only for an actor to come in and knock him down in one punch, making all 5 wrestlers look bad. You know, like, come on, this is a joke. Alright, as far as I'm concerned, at this point in the show, for me, this is like one of the worst WrestleManias of all time. At this point, it's like a 2 out of 10. You know, with both points going to Steamboat. As far as the Hardy versus Hardy match goes, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because, you know, it was just kind of there, you know? Like, I get the feeling some fanboys might overhype it, but for me, you know, it was actually kind of boring in the beginning, and the whole match seemed to depend on 2 spots, you know? The double table thing and the leg drop off the ladder, because after that, it was finishing move done, right? You know? It goes back to the fat woman in her chest size, you know? Like, she can brag about it all day long, but in the end, you know, it's just kind of there. Now, the thing about Taker HBK is that I think some people were trying to call it Match of the Year before it even happened. And now that it happened, I think some people are overhyping the crap out of it, alright? Some people need to understand that just because a match is long doesn't necessarily make it good and doesn't necessarily make it Match of the Year, alright? This was a good match, alright? But in my opinion, there was way too much laying around. And as far as it being one of the all-time greats like some people seem to be saying, you know, what I gotta say is that it lacked the emotion of Flair HBK last year. In my opinion, it was not as good a wrestling match as Edge Taker last year, and knowing 99% chance that Taker was gonna win pretty much took away the rest. Alright? I'm not taking away from the match. All I'm saying is that I've seen Taker HBK before, both on pay-per-view and in person in the arena. And this is by far not my favorite Taker HBK confrontation. As far as the triple threat match goes, I'm not going to spend too much time on that one either. That's another fat woman's chest. You know, it was just there. All I'm going to say is that I like last year's triple threat match better. Now, as far as the main event, Orton versus Triple H goes, I almost fell asleep, you know. That was one of the most boring WrestleMania main events I have ever seen, you know. We went from Hogan Andre to this. And as far as the people who bag on WrestleMania 2000 for how it ended, in my opinion, I think we have a new champion of crappy Triple H endings. Bottom line, in my opinion, WrestleMania 25 is the WrestleMania I think a lot of us were afraid WrestleMania 24 was going to be. Okay, because WrestleMania 24 had a mediocre card going in, but ended up over-delivering. WrestleMania 25, on the other hand, had a crappy card going in and flopped on its ass. If WrestleMania 24 is the 200-pound girlfriend, WrestleMania 25 is the 300-pound girlfriend. Right now, there were some good parts to the show. Money in the Bank got things off to a good start, even though it was wasted. HBK Taker indeed was one of the highlights of the show, and Steamboat almost stole the show. Now, while these things were able to salvage some semblance of dignity for the show, put some makeup on the 300-pound girlfriend, right? In my opinion, it's like a test of the tolerance level of the WWE fanboys, okay? Because in my opinion, if the WWE fanboys watch this crap and actually think it's good for WrestleMania, then they'll pretty much take anything that the WWE gives them from now on. But I'm not like that. My standards did not go down, and this was crap. In my opinion, one of the major contradictions among some wrestling purists out there are the ones who on one hand say they value match quality and ring psychology, but on the other hand say size doesn't matter. Rey Mysterio can win the Royal Rumble. Weight classes need not be respected, even though, in my opinion, it has a direct and negative effect on match quality and ring psychology. You know those local kung fu martial arts schools that give black belts to little 6-year-old kids because they think it's adorable? Well, do you really think that little 6-year-old black belt could kick your ass? If that little kid jump kicked J-Body, who's 260 pounds of muscle, does J-Body really go flying backwards? No, alright? It's a little something called physics. That little kid can train all day. If he does a jump kick on J-Body, he is bouncing off. It's gonna do virtually no damage because differences in size, weight, strength, and muscle mass can make all the difference in the world, which is why we have weight classes in sports. As a fan of professional wrestling, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for many things. I'm willing to believe that the Ultimate Warrior is from parts unknown. I'm willing to believe that the Taker is a zombie. And I'm willing to believe that Taz is Samoa Joe's secret advisor. What I will not buy into, what I cannot buy into, is the violation of simple, common sense physics. When Rey Mysterio kicks someone the size of JBL and JBL goes falling backwards. Or when AJ Styles punches someone the size of Scott Steiner and Steiner starts flying outside the ring. Or when I see that, it's broken, alright? It's broken. That and the invisible cameraman, where the wrestler pretends he doesn't see the camera even though it's right there in front of his face, alright? When I see those things, I am just completely disbelieving in the product. It's completely ruined, alright? The wrestling universe that I'm trying to stick to shatters before my eyes. But at least I'm believing my own eyes. Some of the fans out there seem to prefer to believe what they're told more than what they see with their own eyes. For example, take Umaga. Watch the Royal Rumble that Cena won in New York. While Umaga's in the ring, in my opinion, half the guys in the ring look clearly as big or bigger than he is. To me, Umaga is clearly not a huge guy. He is no bulldozer. He is clearly a medium-sized guy that's been promoted to look bigger than he actually is. But because the promotion tells you he's this unstoppable bulldozer, a lot of fans just roll along with it. Just like they roll along with Rey Mysterio beating JBL in about 30 seconds for the title. But the thing is, if you completely ignore weight classes like this, what happens to the match quality? What happens to the ring psychology? How can ring psychology even exist when the promotion is making up laws of physics as it goes along? Rey Mysterio winning the Royal Rumble should be a zillion to 1 shot. According to Wikipedia, he's 175 pounds. He should be getting tossed out of there like a bushwhacker. I'm not saying that there can't be surprise wins, but the nature of the Royal Rumble favors bigger, heavier people who draw later numbers. Hulk Hogan drawing 20-something and winning. Taker drawing 30 and winning. I can buy that, and that's how it should be most of the time. Now some of you might be thinking, what about the gray areas? What about when one wrestler is only somewhat bigger than the other wrestlers? Are you saying Shawn Michaels can't be champ? No, I'm not saying Shawn Michaels can't be champ. All I'm saying is that weight differentials should be clearly and consistently respected in wrestling matches. Take WrestleMania 5. You had Hogan, who was clearly bigger than Randy Savage, and then you had Warrior, who looked bigger than Rick Rude. And even though the weight differentials weren't that big, they nevertheless played a role in each of the matches. You had Randy Savage trying to use his speed against Hulk Hogan, with Ventura even commenting that Randy Savage was lighter, faster, and had more stamina, which favored a longer match. Then you had the Warrior manhandling Rick Rude, throwing him around like a rag doll. But whereas Savage was not able to overcome Hogan, Rick Rude was able to steal a win over the Warrior for the title. By cheating, but nevertheless. Alright, there was a time when the fans paid attention to the announced weights of wrestlers as they walked down the aisle because they made a difference in the matches, and the matches were better for it. So for all the wrestling purists, so-called wrestling purist fans out there that want to say they like the matches, but size doesn't... Alright, let's talk about Survivor Series. Yeah, we went to Survivor Series, and overall it was a pretty fun time. I'm glad it seems like they're shifting back towards elimination matches. But there are a few things that I would like to vent about, and the main thing is that it just does not feel the same, right? It just does not feel the same. J-Body put it perfectly. He said, back in the day, you had females in the audience taking their shirts off for D-Generation X. Now, we have glow sticks, right? We've gone from tits to glow sticks, alright? And that just pretty much summarizes it, alright? When you're sitting there in the crowd, it does not feel like you're watching a WWF show. Like if we went to a WWF show back in 2000 and then you time traveled us to a show of today, it'd feel like a different promotion, right? It would not feel like we were watching a product from the same promotion, right? It doesn't feel like WWF. It feels more like a WCW hybrid, alright? Someone we talked to said it felt like a weird 90s WCW impersonation of WWF. Like if WCW of the 90s tried really hard to pass off one of their shows as a WWF show, that's what it would look like. It does not feel like we're watching a production of the World Wrestling Federation or Entertainment, whatever. Now the first match on the card, in my opinion, represents one of the biggest challenges facing the WWE and TNA today. And that's the issue of highly talented wrestlers with underdeveloped characters and personalities, right? Because as these guys were coming out one by one, I saw so many people in the crowd basically like, who in the world is this guy? Why the heck should I care about this guy, right? In previous videos, I talked about generic wrestler 101s, the need for interesting storylines and characters, building fully developed personalities, the bad guy, Razor Ramon, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, Bret the Hitman Hart, Ravishing Rick Rude, Macho Man Randy Savage, Jake the Snake Roberts, Rowdy Roddy Piper, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, alright? At this point, it seems like Shelton Benjamin and John Morrison are pretty much at a standstill. Sheamus is in the main event already instead of getting a proper build-up, which in my opinion may do more harm than good. He might just end up being the next Umaga. The most developed character in that match seemed to be The Miz. And it was so cheesy when he cut his promo. I wanted to leave when he stood up there and he's like, because I'm... Then you see all the young fans in the crowd going, awesome! Because I'm awesome? We've gone from sing-along to The Rock to that? Again, tits to glow sticks. I think anyone who's watched my last video on weight classes can pretty much guess how I felt the Rey Mysterio-Batista match should have turned out. And for the most part, it did turn out that way. Batista dominated that match. But you just had to have that one moment where Rey Mysterio goes for the 619, and it looks like Batista's jumping as hard as he can to fly backwards. Yeah, right. All right, Batista's almost 300 pounds. He is not flying backwards to the 619. This match should have been total squash domination. All right, it should have been like Diesel versus Rad Radford, which I think someone still has up on YouTube. Rey Mysterio has no business being in the ring with someone like Batista, and in my opinion should have never won the World Heavyweight title the way that he did. All right? This is the second time this year that I've seen a former world champion get squashed on pay-per-view. After having the world title for a year, JBL walks into WrestleMania 25 and gets his ass kicked in 30 seconds by Rey Mysterio. Now 6 months later, Rey Mysterio, former world champion, walks into Survivor Series and gets his ass kicked by Batista. What does this do for the credibility of the world titles in the WWE? All right? I know newbie young Cena fans don't care. But too bad we do, right? It's ridiculous. Finally, we have the epitome of tits to glow sticks, and that's the main event. And in my opinion, the most fun and exciting match of the evening. But the second Shawn Michaels super kicked Triple H out of the ring, I knew instantly, at that moment, that John Cena was winning the match. Because there is no way Cena is beating both members of DX all by himself in a handicap match. That's ridiculous. Even for Cena. The only way Cena's winning this match is if DX fights each other. So the second Shawn Michaels super kicked Triple H out, instant spoiler. But yet, the excitement, the star power, and the talent in the match was enough to carry it to an exciting experience. And as me and J-Body were leaving the arena, it was funny, from the floor all the way to the outside of the arena, people were coming up, even people in Cena shirts, they were coming up asking where J-Body got his Attitude Era DX shirt. J-Body's like, you know, I got this 10 years ago, and the same thing happened to me. When I went to Raw a while back, I was wearing my Stone Cold shirt, NYPD, knock your punk ass down, Attitude. And people were coming up to me in their, you know, spinny belts and their Cena Nation shirts like, wow, where did you get that? It's like they don't know. It's like they don't know the badassery that came before the modern times. You know, it's like, wow, it is tits to glow sticks. You know, and I don't understand how people can defend the direction of this current product. And to those who do, I guess, enjoy the next Raw where it goes from tits to glow sticks to tits to midgets. Now I'd like to address something that I think I sometimes hear some Cena fans saying, and that's that, look, you liked Hulk Hogan, didn't you? Well, Cena's the next Hulk Hogan. How can you bash him? He's used just like Hulk Hogan. No, he's not. John Cena is nothing like Hulk Hogan. The main difference between John Cena and Hulk Hogan is Cena's constant positioning as the underdog, and this makes all the difference in the world because it causes the company to write itself into a corner. Look, how can you have Cena basically run over the entire roster, have him beat Lashley, have him beat Khali, have him beat Umaga, have him beat Shawn Michaels, have him beat Triple H, have him beat Shawn Michaels and Triple H at the same time? And then next month, he's the underdog again, trying to beat the odds. That makes no sense. That defies logic. By definition, by logic, at that point, he is no longer the underdog. And that's where the formula falls apart, and we can't get behind it anymore. Hulk Hogan, on the other hand, is the complete opposite of this. One of the reasons why WrestleMania 6 was so special, so badass, is because finally, we had someone that could stand up to the Hulkster. Usually when Hogan gets in the ring with somebody else, it's the other person that's the underdog. Whether it's Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect, the $1 Million Man, Randy Savage, or even Ric Flair, when they get into the ring with Hulk Hogan, they are the ones that have to overcome the odds against Hulkamania, not Hulk Hogan, right? And because of that, Hulk Hogan can kick lots of ass, and it makes sense according to the formula, and we can stay behind it. All right? John Cena is not the equivalent of Hulk Hogan. John Cena is the equivalent of Roddy Piper kicking Hulk Hogan's ass over and over again, yet you're still trying to call Piper the underdog. Right? And I know, you know, newbie Cena fans don't think about this stuff. They don't care about this stuff. But too bad we do. Right? And it's ridiculous. I can't believe I feel like I have to say this. Can't believe I feel like I have to say this, but here it goes. Sheamus is not beating John Cena for the WWE title at TLC. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it just blows my mind that some fans actually think that Sheamus has a shot at winning the title at TLC. I mean, is the WWE promotional machine really that strong? I mean, have wrestling fans really been dumbed down to the point where they just believe whatever a promotion tells them? I mean, did some of these fans think Khali would beat Cena all those times? I mean, look, alright, look. Sheamus has been in the WWE for all of 2 minutes. He has not had a steady build-up. He hasn't had time to have one. And he has virtually no brand name power compared to John Cena. He is not winning the WWE title at TLC. Guys like Sheamus, guys like Khali, they are not serious contenders. Sheamus is going in to get his ass kicked and to waste your time. He's going to go into the arena, he's going to not win the belt, but he's going to look just strong enough with just enough controversy to justify a series of rematches to waste more of your time. Alright? Look, we've seen this movie before. It's the same old shit. If Sheamus actually wins the WWE title over John Cena at TLC, and I mean legitimately wins, none of this, he steals the belt or the belt's held up or a controversial crap where both shoulders are pinned at the same time. If he legitimately wins the WWE title at TLC and is the unquestioned, clear World Heavyweight Champion, I will go out. I will go out there and I will buy myself a spinny belt. I will buy myself a spinny belt. I will bring it here, and in my next video, I will kiss the spinny belt and call John Cena my hero, because it is not happening. Now, some of the excuse makers, wrestling fans will probably say, well, even if Sheamus doesn't win the belt, by going directly against a main eventer like John Cena, as long as he looks strong in the match and puts forth match effort of at least 3.752 stars, he can get very over, even by losing. What? Come on, man. Where did that come from? Where did that myth come from? When has that been shown to be consistently effective strategy? In fact, in my opinion, it's been shown to be consistently ineffective strategy, and in my opinion, a possible career killer. Now, remember in the mid-90s where you had all these new bad guys coming in, but it looked like they were all going directly to Bret Hart, who was a multi-time world champion by then? Like you had Jean-Pierre Lafitte coming in and taking Bret Hart's jacket. You had Isaac Yankem coming in via Jerry Lawler and attacking Bret Hart. You had Hakushi coming in and attacking Bret Hart after an award ceremony. I remember thinking, why are all these new bad guys going directly to Bret Hart? They were going directly to Bret Hart to get their ass kicked by Bret Hart, to put Bret Hart over and kill some time before Bret Hart's next real main event level challenge, right? The purpose was not to make the new guy look strong, it was to put the existing guy over. Did any of these guys really shoot to superstardom because they fought Bret Hart and looked nice in the match? No, that's not the way it works. The way it works is that the guy comes in looking strong, he fights Bret Hart, then he sinks to the undercard and fades to oblivion, alright? After Jean-Pierre Lafitte got his ass kicked by Bret Hart, he sank to the undercard and disappeared. Isaac Yankem didn't even wait to sink to the undercard. He just disappeared after Bret Hart. Hakushi came in looking all badass, but after being beat by Bret, suddenly he's teaming up with Barry Horowitz in a Survivor Series team literally called the Underdogs. Alright? Khali was lucky, alright? After John Cena was finished by him, he actually had a brief stint as the SmackDown champion before fading into mid-card oblivion, alright? Nothing beats the traditional standard build-up, rising through the ranks over the years. Savage and Warrior had it, Bret and Shawn had it, Austin and Rock had it, even Cena had it. Alright, in my opinion, when you have a new bad guy coming in and going directly against a good guy main eventer like Bret or Cena, it's not to make the bad guy look strong. It's to make the existing guy look strong. Has anyone noticed how cars are getting uglier and uglier? It's like the designers ran out of ideas for cool, so they went into weird. And now they're beyond that into just plain ugly. For example, take the Infiniti FX. What idiot thought of this? Well, now we have reached the epitome, the pinnacle. The new Lincoln MKT is the ugliest car I have ever seen. Remember when new Lincolns looked respectable? Well, now we have this. Look at this hideous thing. And it costs $40,000. Who's going to pay $40,000 to look like shit? This is it right. This is it right here. This is the WWE of cars. John Cena should drive this to WrestleMania. Entertainment 26 should be brought to you by this. Look at it. It looks like a retarded GoBot. This is it right here. The ugliest mainstream car in modern history. What we have right now are fanboys that'll walk around town tonight claiming they've gotten the best of me. They'll be claiming it all. And most of all, they'll be claiming their devotion to that wannabe John Cena. This channel has provided years of quality videos and predictions. One time means nothing!
One time means nothing!
To my credibility. Ain't that right? Tell him, Mr. Perfect.
Tell him, Mr. Perfect! I'll tell you what, one time means nothing. This man has never taken a shortcut in the world of wrestling. You have taken a shortcut.
You gave a newbie the title of legends. The belt of Hogan, Rock, Austin, Bret is now on Sheamus. Arguably the weakest WWE champion since JBL. Arguably weaker. Arguably the weakest WWE champion of all time. You can't say Sheamus without saying shame. Just how many fans out there could have predicted such a stupid-ass decision by the WWE? If they had a single brain cell left, this is a title reign that will not last long. As far as I'm concerned, other than the WWE pulling this tits to glow sticks title change out of their ass, the main points in my last video still stand strong. Sheamus is nothing but an Isaac Yankem, a Khali, a placeholder villain for Cena to ultimately conquer and destroy. Do you not agree? I heard the crowd was relatively quiet when Sheamus won the title. Of course they're quiet. Sheamus is WWE champion. It's the same as if Isaac Yankem slammed Diesel through a table and now Isaac Yankem is your WWF champion of the world. Of course they're quiet. But in my opinion, it's not a good quiet. It's not a respectful quiet. It's an are you kidding me quiet. And the WWE, they seem to think they can neutralize this by putting the tag belts on DX, who by now are watered down and consist of two members smiling with their glow sticks and a Hornswoggle DX t-shirt. Yeah? There was a time I cheered for DX like crazy. There was a time I bought DX merchandise like crazy. But what DX needs to realize is that I did it for the titties. So they can take that glow stick and stick it up their ass. Stick it up the ass, stick it up the ass. In my last video, I listed some ways the WWE could possibly extend this useless feud at TLC. I said Sheamus could steal the belt. I said the belt could be held up. I said there could be some kind of controversial finish where you're not sure who won. I had considered adding a Kane Bob Backlund style title into the list, but decided against it because I thought there was no way the WWE would be stupid enough to actually put the belt on Sheamus for 3 reasons. And as I list these reasons, ask yourself if you agree with them. Number 1, storyline-wise and strategy-wise, it simply makes no sense. Sheamus has been in WWE for all of 2 minutes and hasn't had time to develop a persona yet. And how can you have a guy be in the opening match relatively anonymous at Survivor Series and the next month he's WWE champion? It just makes no sense. Number 2, a title change at TLC would arguably result in one of the weakest champions in WWE history. Hogan, Austin, Sheamus. And number 3, we've already talked about how it seems like the prestige of the WWE title seems to have fallen in recent years. Putting it in arguably the weakest WWE champion of all time could tank it. So before you continue bashing me, ask yourself, do you agree with these 3 reasons against the title change at TLC? Number 1, it make no sense. Number 2, it result in a weak-ass champion. And number 3, the weak-ass champion could tank the prestige of the belt. In my opinion, me saying there's no way Sheamus wins the title is like me saying there's no way that football team attempts an 80-yard field goal. Because it'd be a stupid thing to do. Now, if the coach of that football team actually orders that 80-yard field goal, does it really hurt my credibility? Or is it just a stupid-ass move? In my opinion, I backed up my match prediction last video with sound logic. And that the WWE breaks that logic and goes into the ridiculous? Does that say more about me? Or does that say more about the promotion? Now, while I maintain that the points in my last video still stand strong and that my credibility is not hurt because a stupid move is a stupid move, my word is also my word. I've always tried to be honest with my subscribers, always tried to keep it real, and as such, here is the Belt of Champions. Don't judge a book by its cover. Believe it or not, this title lineage actually includes guys like Austin and The Rock. Back when it had a better book cover. And now, it's on Sheamus. Look what you've done, WWE. John's You want to just talk about something else? You want to talk about TNA? Suppose not. John Cena is my hero. You happy? This on Sheamus. You really happy? A lot of people have been asking me to finish the story I started in the intro to the video entitled Empty Gimmick. So here it is. So if you haven't watched that intro, maybe you should to keep up. Basically what happened is that me and J-Body, we were driving hours and hours towards a wrestling event, and during the trip we stopped by at this food place where this old guy, who by the way is arguably a more interesting personality than most of today's new wrestlers, but this old guy, he was just bothering people until security came and took him away. We leave the food place, we go to the wrestling event, then we drive hours and hours back home, where before I go home, I stop at a convenience store, and guess who's standing outside? The old guy, alright? And here's a part J-Body reminded me of. At the food place, when he tried to bother us and I stopped him, he looked at me and he's like, "You about the ugliest motherfucker I ever saw!" You know, and when they were taking him away, security was taking him away, he's like, "I'm gonna whip your ass, sonny boy! I'm gonna whip your ass!" So when we saw each other at the convenience store, I got out of the car, we make eye contact, and he's like, well, dreams do come true. I'm gonna whip your motherfucking ass, boy! And he started like rolling up his sleeves, and I'm like, how'd you get out here? And he's like, that's not the point. I'm gonna serve you an ass whipping. And, you know, basically the rest of the story is pretty boring, you know, because he wasn't just bothering me, he was bothering everybody. So a police car came up and they took him away again, you know, I wasn't going to fight the guy. I don't even want to touch the guy, all right? Like, he's an old man, you know, I'd Frank Mir his ass. He'd go down faster than Chet Congo, all right? I am not fighting the guy, all right? So basically that's the rest of the story. It's pretty boring, all right? So there you have it, and now we go to our usual routine of me talking about wrestling and getting myself upset at the state of today's wrestling. When I make a video, here's usually what I do. I click the record button, I rant for about 10 to 20 minutes, and then I edit things down to size. Sometimes though, some of the stuff I edit out, the stuff I cut out, seems to become sort of more relevant later on. For example, in my TLC video, I did have an outtake where I talk about a heel Bob Backlund style title win and run, but I thought it wasn't really needed, so I cut it out, and now Sheamus is the world champion. In my Survivor Series rant video, I cut out a part that included Bret Hart, and here he is about to come back to the WWE. One of the first things that I vented about regarding my Survivor Series live experience that got cut out of the final video was the show's opening and the live crowd's reaction to it. Now, as you know, the opening to Survivor Series featured all these legends. I guess the WWF can't make new stars, so I guess they'll use old ones for the intro. But with like all these stars appearing on the screen, you think the adrenaline would be pumping, right? You think the crowd would be going nuts, right? Getting ready to explode, right? No, absolutely not. The crowd was almost quiet for the entire thing, right? At first I think they show Hogan and Andre, and the crowd just quietly claps. Think about it. Quietly clapping for Hogan and Andre. But then they go through this laundry list of legends. The Ultimate Warrior, Bret the Hitman Hart, and the crowd is just virtually quiet through the entire thing. Painfully quiet. You look at them and they're basically like, you know, I'm like, what in the world is going on? You know, they are just basically completely quiet all the way up until The Undertaker when they finally start cheering. Like, what the fuck is that? You know, like me and J-Body, we were talking about this. We were like, why did The Miz, get twice the pop of the Ultimate Warrior and Bret the Hitman Hart combined? You know, I'm sorry. There is no excuse for this. None whatsoever. Alright, Bret the Hitman Hart's last WCW pay-per-views, as a main eventer no less, were in 2000. The Ultimate Warrior's last WCW pay-per-views, as a main eventer no less, were in late 1998, going into 1999. So we're talking about a 10-year span. Alright, if this were 1999 and I went to a wrestling show and they showed stars from 1989, Million Dollar Man, Randy Savage, Brutus Beefcake, Mr. Perfect, Tito Santana, I'd be going nuts. I'd be going nuts, and so would all my friends. 1999 would pop for 1989. When the Ultimate Warrior appeared on Nitro, the crowd was going berserk, right? So what the fuck is wrong with these new fans? You know, I'm sorry. This gets me pissed off. You know, like 99 cheered for 89. The crowd today stays quiet. You know, you look at the crowd, you see all these Cena lovers decked out in Cena gear. Bret Hart's on the screen. They're going, you know, what the hell, man? What the fuck? Are you? Today's fans suck. I just got a message from someone who says he thinks Hornswoggle's going to get a louder pop than Bret Hart. All right. In my opinion, you know, this just goes to show you. It just goes to show you what kind of fan base wrestling has today. How wrestling has alienated its dedicated fan base to the point where arenas are now filled with kids and undedicated douchebags, there for the shallowest and most casual of reasons. You know, ooh, look at all the pretty colors. Ooh, look at all the pyro. I'm at a wrestling event. You know, fans who seem to have no care for things like quality ring work, storylines, booking, build-up, weight classes, title divisions, or legacy, right? That's why the WWE can get away with these things, I think. That's why they can make Hornswoggle the star of Raw, throw the belt on Sheamus with almost no build-up, and these fans seem to completely not care because they don't value these things. They don't value the belts. They don't value build-up. As long as the fireworks stay pretty, the music stays loud, and Cena keeps up those stupid slogans one right after another, that's all they seem to care about. This is why, in my opinion, unless Bret Hart gets lucky and runs into a crowd filled with enough old school fans, or debuts in Canada or a big city like New York or something, the Raw crowd might barely even know who he is. And even if they know who he is, they might not even care. You know, it's like, what's this Bret Hart guy doing out here? Where's Hornswoggle? I want to cheer twice as loud for him. You know, in my opinion, the WWF put themselves in this position. You push the spinny belt, you get spinny belt fans, you know? But are spinny belt fans also Bret Hart fans? Do spinny belt fans even know about wrestling before 2005? I guess we'll find out. For the first time in what seems like an eternity, wrestling was worth watching on Monday night again. For the first time in an eternity, it was somewhat exciting to be a wrestling fan again. I hope newbie fans, I hope they got a taste, a glimpse, a grain of sand of the excitement and thrill that we used to get as wrestling fans. Not just one week, but every single week, one right after another. I hope they got an idea of just how badass it used to be a wrestling fan. Now, TNA and WWE, neither show was perfect, but they don't need to be perfect. Raw and War and Nitro were almost never perfect. That's not what it's all about. It's about the competitive spirit, the competitive atmosphere, the one-upsmanship. And I think we can all agree that it was pretty exciting, right? I hope the excitement of this experience helps to eliminate two stupid arguments that I've heard over and over again. The first argument, and I can't believe people actually think this, is the argument that competition is overrated. There's no connection between competition and product. What? After watching all the build-up, after watching TNA and WWE amp up for each other, and TNA throwing the kitchen sink at WWE last night, that argument should be over, done with. Think about it this way. If Hulk Hogan came back to Raw, WWE would hype it up, right? If Ric Flair came back to Raw, WWE would hype it up, right? If Jeff Hardy came back to Raw one day, I think the WWE would hype it up, right? Last night, TNA brought all these guys in at the same time, along with guys like Sting and Scott Hall. They threw the kitchen sink out there last night. Meanwhile, on the other channel, you had Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, a showdown that's been in the making since '97. All right, the argument that competition is overrated should be done with. All right. Competition is the killer of the status quo, which is what we have been enduring for the last half decade in wrestling, right? When there's competition, the fans win. And the more competition there is, the more the fans win. I've read people saying things like, oh, I hope WWE buys out TNA and ROH, or oh, I hope TNA and ROH go out of business. As far as I'm concerned, if you want there to be only one major wrestling promotion, if you hope WWE buys out TNA and ROH, then you are not a wrestling fan. Last night was a demonstration on how competition made wrestling watchable again. The second argument that I hope is gone is the argument for product quality using only match time. People sometimes try to play down on the Attitude Era by saying things like, oh, back in this episode, it took 25 minutes until the first match, as if non-match time is automatically garbage time. Well, Shawn Michaels' Bret Hart last night was 15-20 minutes. Was that garbage time? Was the return of Hulk Hogan garbage time? Just because a match is not taking place does not necessarily mean what's there is automatically garbage. Like it or not, some of the most classic, memorable wrestling moments of all time took place outside a wrestling match. Shawn Michaels throwing Marty Jannetty through a window, Piper hitting Snuka with a coconut, Y2J debuting on Raw and confronting The Rock, The Warrior returning at WrestleMania 8, Stone Cold Steve Austin stunning McMahon at Madison Square Garden, Shawn Michaels Bret Hart last night. I would not trade any of these moments at all for any little routine match. Alright? People try to judge shows by saying, oh, there were such and such minutes during this show, therefore it sucked. Well, what if what was there was awesome? What if it was Sing Along with The Rock or The Return of Austin? Right? You can't judge product quality only by using match time. I hope that argument is over. Now, as far as comments on the shows go, I'm going to start with Raw, since I only watched the Bret Hart parts. Other than Bret Shawn and Bret Vince, my TV was on TNA 100% of the time, including commercials, based on principle, gotta support the competition, and faith in product. I simply don't believe in WWE anymore. But as far as Bret Hart goes, the first thing I'd like to say is that I don't know what definition you watch the show in, but did you notice the amount of makeup Bret Hart had on his face? Oh my goodness, you know, it looked like he had like a makeup party, you know, with like the Divas or something right before coming down to the ring. You know, is this Bret Hart or Bret Michaels? But the important thing, and the thing I was concerned about, was the crowd reaction. Thank goodness that crowd gave Bret Hart a decent pop, at least in the beginning of the show, alright? They weren't going crazy, they weren't going berserk like the Ultimate Warrior on Nitro or The Rock in his prime, but you can't really ask for that level of pop in today's crowd. Right? The most you can ask for, the best you can ask for out of crowds today is that they please be not quiet. Right? And Bret Hart got his pop. There was plenty of pink in the crowd. Old school fans seemed to show up in bunches and made themselves heard. That's all you can really ask for out of today's crowd. No complaints. Speaking of crowds, I talked about some of the crowd reactions at Survivor Series. Going to WWE shows these days feels like I'm going to an alien planet sometimes. Going to TNA shows, on the other hand, feels like I'm going home. These here at TNA are my fellow wrestling fans. These are wrestling fans, alright? At Survivor Series, they stay quiet for the Ultimate Warrior. TNA Impact starts with a reference by a fan of the Ultimate Warrior. And when Sean Waltman's walking down the ring at the Impact Zone, people are chanting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's a reference to 1995. Yes, indeed, for the alienated wrestling fan, TNA is home. With this episode of Impact, TNA is setting up for something that could be potentially awesome in terms of storytelling. As you know, I have been so tired of the WWE's linear, simplistic, one-dimensional, cardboard style of storytelling, where storylines basically consist of, I don't like you anymore. Let's fight a few times in a row and then forget we ever fought until it's convenient again. Right? Yeah? Two feuds at Survivor Series, Rey Mysterio Batista and Jericho Big Show, basically consisted of, you're not my friend anymore. You know, come on. And then you have the Cena streaks where he just beats one person after another person after another person after another person in basically the exact same way. The bad guy attacks him on Raw. They fight at the pay-per-view. It is so old, so boring. Storylines used to be more than this. They used to be about ongoing relationships. It used to be a real, fictional wrestling universe. I talked about this back in 2007. The WWE used to be more than that. It used to be a living, breathing universe consisting of relationships. And the Warrior Macho Man feud was the result of a series of relationships. The relationship between Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, the relationship between Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker, the relationship between Jake the Snake and The Undertaker, the relationship between Hulk Hogan and Sid Justice, the relationship between Macho Man and Ric Flair, and finally, the relationship between the Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man, among others. All these relationships giving way to a series of separate but interdependent storylines that cross paths as they develop and as the characters develop based on their motivations, personalities, and goals. That's what I'm talking about. With this episode of Impact, TNA seems to be on the verge of building something that's actually worth getting into. It's still early, we don't know how it's going to turn out, but let's take a look at things. As you know, I love storyline. And just look at all the things we have going on here. We got the state of ownership. We got Hall and X-Pac crashing the party. We got AJ Styles proceeding with his feud with Kurt Angle. We got the Knockout Division title challenges. And on the side, we have Jeff Hardy in this mysterious subplot. And then, we have Foley. By the way, I love the way Foley was pulling that suitcase around no matter how mad he got. He'd yell, but then he'd just keep walking with his suitcase. Now that's personality. Foley, storyline-wise, has issues with ownership, sneaks his way in, runs into Val Venus, but then runs into a certain two other party crashers. Meanwhile, we have Flair wandering around, seemingly interested in talking to AJ Styles, but otherwise unexplained. All this thus far, of course, is connected by the common thread of Hogan-Bischoff. What are they really here for? What is their purpose? You see what I mean when I say potential? And you still have Jeff Hardy down here with that mysterious envelope. No clue on whether he relates to any of these storylines up here. And I haven't even touched on everything yet. Potential, potential, potential. As far as performance goes, here are the early reported ratings numbers as I record this on Tuesday, which means they may not be final. Based on these, however, Raw clearly has a higher number than TNA, as expected. However, when you look at Raw historically, it seems like they just drew a standard rating. In other words, the big return of Bret Hart only drew on par. TNA, on the other hand, drew the biggest rating in its entire history. There is no precedent for this for TNA. It stands alone as a significant audience gain. So in this sense, as far as I'm concerned, TNA wins. Here in the wrestling fan community, we sometimes like to focus on the business side of pro wrestling. Ratings, buy rates, merchandise sales, reported revenues. But for this video, let's try to put that aside temporarily and focus on the creative and artistic side of wrestling. Because I was thinking about pro wrestling recently and something dawned on me. D-Generation X has no reason to exist. I mean, think about it. Back in the late 90s, DX was formed on the basis of pushing the boundaries. Shawn Michaels was sticking the Canadian flag up his nose. They were mooning people. They were invading Nitro. They were spraying women with super soakers. Women were flashing the crowd. It was like a youth movement. It was like, we just got tired of doing what you told us to do. It was edgy. It was edgy stuff. Now, though, Raw is rated PG, the product is for kids, both guys are in their 40s, and Shawn Michaels has found his fate. It's like, what are they even doing here, right? D-Generation X these days seems to be hanging around for no reason. I mean, at SummerSlam, they're fighting Legacy, and then at Survivor Series, they're fighting John Cena. You got two guys coming out smiling, waving their glow sticks, and now they're hanging around Hornswoggle, the world's littlest member. Dude, creatively speaking, this gimmick is done. It's over. It has no reason to exist. A similar argument could be made for John Cena. I'm not talking about the wrestler, I'm talking about the fictional character. Why is he even here anymore? I mean, there was a time when being a 4-time world champion was considered a lot, right? Like, that was a whole career right there. Cena is 32 years old, and he's already a 7-time world champion. Why does he even want the belt anymore? What more is there left to prove? Why does he even want an 8th title reign? To rub it in? In my opinion, this character as is pretty much done, finished, and can be extended only one of two ways. Either number one, you take him out of the main event title scene and give him something new to pursue, something new, a new reason to keep wrestling. Or number two, you turn him heel, where now the reason he wants an 8th title reign is because he's a heel. He's doing it for the greed, the personal fame and fortune, like Edge. Because as it stands, as a babyface main event title contender, like D-Generation X, this character has no reason to exist. Now let's move on to TNA. While I understand that there may be some fans who are opposed to the NWO Wolfpack, the Outsiders' presence in TNA, I argue that they have a reason to exist. They have a purpose, given the storyline chosen. Now, TNA could have gone with a million other storyline possibilities regarding Hogan's entrance to TNA, but that's water under the bridge. This is the one they chose, and I think it has a lot of potential. Let's take a closer look. The central conflict in the selected storyline seems to be the tug-of-war and question over Hogan's allegiance. Hogan arrives and talks about how he is ready to support the future, to move forward, and to help make TNA #1 in the world. He seems sincere. In order for there to be a conflict, in order for there to be a tug-of-war, however, there needs to be another side. There needs to be temptation. And who better for this purpose than them? In my opinion, there is no other choice. If you're going to go in this storyline direction, there is nobody else. Between good and evil, between the future and the past, the Wolfpack serves a purpose and have a central reason to exist in this storyline, at least temporarily. After watching TNA Impact again and discovering more of the nuances of the show, and I can't believe I'm saying that for a modern day wrestling program, the nuances of the show, I'm beginning to think this latest episode may just be a work of art. I mean, for example, take Eric Bischoff's brilliant promo in the ring. Hogan and the Wolfpack, they look like they're about to fight when Bischoff comes out, stands on Hogan's side, and says there's been a communication breakdown. X-Pac asks for an explanation, and here's how Bischoff responds, and this is such great acting. Eric Bischoff looks at the Wolfpack, and he says, everybody, and he raises an eyebrow, has to earn his position in the company. Then he starts nodding at the Wolfpack and gives them this look. It was almost like a coded message, like wink wink, like what is this? Actual subtext in professional wrestling? To the crowd though, who I guess can't see facial expressions as well, this seems to come across as a babyface line and they actually start to clap. This is awesome! Meanwhile, Hall and Nash seem to get the real message. Hall gives Bischoff the thumbs up and Nash says, "We hear you loud and clear. See you later." And then they leave. The crowd seems to continue to think that the babyface won, so they continue clapping. What a beautiful scene. What a work of art. Watch it again for yourself. Now, given Bischoff's amazing performance and the layered storyline TNA seems to be setting up for, to me this brings to question Hogan's apparent botch earlier in his promo. Was he backstage all day? Or was he in the limousine? Now, I'm not making excuses for TNA. If this was a botch, then it was a stupid botch. But, given TNA's recent attention to detail apparently, was it a botch? Or was it just clever writing? Let's take a deeper look. Early in the show, we see what appears to be Hogan's limo pulling up. Before it enters the arena, however, we see a masked man getting into the limo from another limo. Note that we never see Hogan actually coming out of the limo. Ric Flair is shown coming out of his limo, but Hogan is never shown coming out of his. Hogan's name is then announced, he walks into the Impact Zone, and talks about how he's been backstage all day. To me, the key is this. Because whether Hogan was in the limo or not, in my opinion, directly impacts the character's direction, which is the whole point of the storyline. Heel or babyface. The whole reason why he came out in Hollywood colors seems there just to further this exact question. So if this was actually not a botch, if this was actually just clever writing, then I'm sorry. TNA just rules now. Thank you, TNA, and thank you, Eric Bischoff, for getting me back into wrestling.